Shawnee Wyatt for stealing clients and breaching their employment agreement.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case 2112, Landy versus Wyatt.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Miss Wyatt, when did you become an esthetician?
I was licensed as an esthetician in March of 2021.
Okay. Miss Landy, this is what your case is about. You hired Miss Wyatt for your business. You have a spa business? Is that what it is?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
How long have you had the business?
I've been in operations as an S Corp since 2016. I worked for myself as a sole proprietor since 2009.
How many employees did you have in 2020 and 21?
In 2020, it was during the pandemic. We were shut down most of the time. In 2021, there was up to 5 employees, not including myself, Your Honor. It was 6 of us total.
Does that include Miss Wyatt?
It does, Your Honor.
When did she start working for you?
She started working for me in February of 2021 as a receptionist. I hired her as a receptionist.
Okay. Not an esthetician?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Were you going to school at the time?
I was not hired in February. I didn't get my license until March of 2021.
What the plaintiff says is you were hired in February. She probably has documents to work as a receptionist.
I was not hired. I didn't even have my license then.
Did you have any proof that she started in February?
Your Honor, I have proof that she...
Was she on your payroll?
She was on my payroll.
Okay, so that's
what we have document of in that is that she started brand new as a receptionist. Maybe it was in March of 21.
Okay.
I have my first paycheck stub.
I'd like to see it. Okay.
Alishani produces a document, then hands it to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
This is a pay stub from April.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This is your claim. Your claim is that when Miss Wyatt came to work for you, subsequently as an esthetician, which she was, because she counted her among your 6 employees in 2021, that she had signed a contract which provided for certain restrictions should she leave. You don't have that contract.
I cannot find it. It was supposed to be.
Okay. You don't have that contract.
Nope.
Miss Wyatt, when you went to work for the plaintiff, do you recall signing a document?
I do recall signing documents stating like what my job title was and like the documents that would go towards what we went over and things like that for training purposes.
Okay.
Your Honor, I have non-solicitation, non-disclosure agreement documents of employees. There's 4.
Okay. Is this an employee of yours?
No, it is not, Your Honor.
Ever? Was ever?
Never been an employee.
Were either one of those 2 people employees, former employees?
Tabitha Brown was.
Was this a former employee of
Tabitha
yours?
Brown was a former employee.
At approximately the same time?
She was an employee of mine for 5 years up until April 17th, Your Honor.
Did she voluntarily leave or did you?
She voluntarily left.
Okay. Did she voluntarily leave to go to work with the defendant?
I did not know that until the day defendant left.
But ultimately
Yes.
you determined that she did?
Sure did.
Okay. She was with you for 5 years?
Sure. Yes.
I assume that if you have a business and you don't have this contract, which you allege if you could produce, had a specific non-compete clause in it, but you don't have it. She remembers signing something, but she doesn't remember exactly what it was. Can you stand up? Tell me your name.
Tabitha Brown.
Miss Brown, did you sign a contract when you went to work for the plaintiff?
Yes, I didn't remember that I did.
You did?
Yes.
But you did?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a copy of her?
I sure do. And Your
Just
Honor,
a second.
Okay.
Do you have a copy of it?
I don't.
No, but you have a copy of what she signed.
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Your Honor.
No. Just
Okay.
let me see the copy. I'm trying to reconstruct something just to get some general parameters of this case.
Angela hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Tabitha Brown, March 22nd, 2022.
Yes.
Different.
Oh.
That is not the non-solicitation, non-disclosure agreement. That's a different agreement. Those are contracts she has signed.
Oh, well, you gave me 2 things. What is this?
One is her non-disclosure, non-solicitation, and also the second one is the role definition of an esthetician working for me.
Looking at the non-compete.
Judy scans the document.
Okay, this is pretty standard. Kevin, would you show this to Miss Brown? And I also want you to show it to Miss Wyatt.
Kevin hands the document to Tabitha.
That clearly your signature.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And so that says within 1 year of your leaving Miss Landy's employment, you will not work in a related field within 7 miles from her current place of business.
Yes.
When you left her employment, did you go to work with Miss Wyatt?
We left to share. Yes.
The answer is either yes
Yes.
or no. So you did. You
Yes.
went to work with Miss Wyatt. And when you went with Miss Wyatt, that was sometime in 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
What month?
May of 2022.
Your Honor, that's incorrect.
Shh, don't. I'm not needing your help.
Okay.
Caption coming up.
In this case, you don't have a physical signed contract, so I don't see why you think that you have all documentation.
I don't have documentation
That's what I'm saying.
due to the fact that I believe she stole the information out of my filing cabinet.
Alishani shakes her head. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Angela, Alishani, and Tabitha.
Angela Landy claims her former employee, Alishani Wyatt, stole clients and breached their employment agreement.
Now, does Miss Wyatt have a location, a shop, a store, a place of business, or does she operate out of her residence?
We share a space
You share a space where?
at a salon studios in Valencia.
Have you calculated the distance between that space and Miss Landy's office?
I have, ma'am.
And how far is it?
3.4 miles.
Well, you're not allowed to do that, pursuant to the terms of your agreement.
Correct. I don't have a copy of that agreement, ma'am.
Well,
I have it here. I have it
giv-
now, but at the time I didn't. It's from 5 years ago, and I never received a copy of that. So it was.
I don't know whether you received a copy of it or not. It's your signature, and it's pretty standard fare. It's not that it's not standard fare. So, Miss Wyatt, what I have to do is sort of put together whether or not I believe that you, in fact, had the same document that you signed.
Correct.
And I believe that you did.
Okay.
Despite the fact she says that you probably took it when you left. I can't describe that conduct to her. But this is pretty standard fare, that within 1 year it's not too onerous, it's not within a 50-mile radius, it's a 7-mile radius. 3.5 miles are certainly well within that. You could have found some place that was 8 miles away, and then we wouldn't be in this difficulty. But you didn't. Anyway, so you were in violation of your contract when you left and went to work and shared space with Miss Wyatt. Okay, but you're not suing her.
No, ma'am.
Why?
Because I know the case would be dismissed because of the lack of solicitation between clients and of a former employee.
Well, not necessarily. Those two stand alone.
Your Honor, if I may say, there was a small claims action against Tabitha, but because there was no evidence,
What do you mean there was no evidence?
I had no evidence, the way I have evidence today with Alishani, that Tabitha solicited clientele.
Okay. Now you can sit down.
Thank you.
So that small claims case was dismissed.
Yeah, I have nothing there, which I learned. I have nothing to stand on what I have to stand on today.
Well, what you had to stand on, Miss Landy, which I don't understand, you had a non-compete agreement with her. She's in violation of that agreement. That's all you need. And she violated this agreement. She went to work within 7
correct,
miles
Your
of
Honor.
your place of business. So I don't understand that. In this case, you don't have a physical signed contract. I have to reconstruct whether I believe that there was one. So I don't see why you think that you have all documentation.
I don't have documentation
That's what I'm saying.
due to the fact that I believe she stole the information out of my filing cabinet.
I don't know whether she did or not. Right now, you say it's a lost document. You can't find it.
Correct.
Okay. And the defendant acknowledges, and it's usually custom and practice in the business, to sign a non-compete when you have that kind of service industry. And I'm prepared to accept judicial notice of the fact that when you go to work for a beauty salon or a hair salon or a spa, you develop a clientele within the spa. You can't open up a store next door and steal the clients. Most people have people sign this, and you did, and you had it done 5 years ago. So Ms. Brown is in violation of this contract.
That is correct.
Why somebody dismissed that, I don't know. I have no idea. Okay, so now you're going to demonstrate to me that Miss Wyatt solicited clients of yours.
Yes,
Show
Your
me.
Honor. Okay. In July of 2021, Alishani was trained to be an esthetician.
Let's not go back to ground zero. I'm not interested. I am assuming, for the purposes of this hearing, that she signed a non-compete clause, just as Ms. Brown did. So let's start from there, and I asked you a very simple question. I said, what proof do you have that she solicited clients when she left?
Your Honor, my solicitation is here,
Fine, I'd like to take a look at it.
and my witness, Kennedy, is here as well.
Well, let's go to Miss Kennedy. Was Miss Kennedy a client of yours?
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you stand up, please?
The witness rises.
Your first name?
Kennedy. Kennedy.
Last name?
Johnson.
Ms. Johnson, how long had you been a client of Miss Landy's spa?
I want to say about 2019, Your Honor. I was there before the pandemic and was there for a while before it shut down due to COVID.
Were you there after it reopened?
Yes.
After COVID. What kind of work do you have done there?
I get sugared, which is using sugar, lemon, and I believe it's honey and water, and you mix it together and it takes hair off of you.
And who did that for you?
I went through many of the clientele and the employees at Angela's shop at the time. So there were several people that, Alicia was one of them, as well as Tabitha.
How many times did the defendant do the waxing? Sugaring.
I want to say at least 5 times.
Do you recall when she left Miss Landry's?
I do not remember the date. However, I do remember getting a call from her company. I got a call saying...
From Miss Landry's company?
Yes.
Yes.
Your Honor, it's Landy.
Landy.
Yes, from Miss Landy's company. They had called me on my cell phone and told me that she was no longer there, and they had told me she was no longer
You can't
there.
tell me what somebody from her shop told you. That's hearsay. I want to know about the solicitation, if there was.
Yes. So one point while Alicia, the defendant was there,
Sorry.
Do you understand?
Yes.
while the defendant was there, I had gotten sugared on my face. It was a small patch test, excuse me. And after she had texted me, gave me her personal number, and told me if I had any reaction to text her and let her know. After I texted her, I had...
And this was while she was working for the plaintiff?
Yes, that is correct.
Go ahead.
And as a while, I started having a small reaction, and I had texted her and sent her a picture of my face and told her that I was starting to have a small reaction. I did not receive anything back for a little bit, and then I want to say around April, late March.
Well, when did you text her?
This text for the face patch was earlier, I want to say early March, maybe February.
Do you have the text?
I believe she gave it to you.
The third one, Your Honor.
A text reads, "Hey Kennedy, I forgot to tell you if you wanted to book with me again, I can put you in my books. I'll be in Valencia."
What date did Miss Wyatt leave your employ?
April 22nd is when I got her immediate resignation.
April 22nd, 2000.
22.
And is this what you're referring to? Hey, Kennedy, I forgot to tell you if you wanted to book with me again, I could put you in my books. I'll be in Valencia.
That's correct.
And is Valencia where your shop is?
3.2 miles away, Your Honor.
No. Answer my question. I have a question. Is Valencia where your shop is?
No.
That's my question. Why don't you just answer my question?
Okay.
Caption, coming up.
Tell me what she told your attorney. Do you understand?
Even if I have an affidavit?
Is your attorney in the military?
No, I just have a notarized affidavit.
From whom?
My
From
attorney.
Her? No, I don't take affidavits from attorneys.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
Angela grins. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Angela and Alishani.
Business owner Angela Landy has accused her former employee, Alishani Wyatt, of taking her clients and breaking their agreement.
So Valencia is not where your shop is. Valencia is where your place of business is.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So you left on the 22nd, is that correct?
That's correct.
On the 20th, 2 days before, you tell Miss Kennedy, because I assumed that this was a planned move of yours, that she could reach you again at your new place of business in Valencia.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, well, you're not allowed to do that.
During the services, it's a very intimate service, so you start to gain a relationship with these clients. And through that time, I felt like I had gained a relationship. It wasn't just a client with Kennedy. So
You met her
Yes.
through the plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor.
You started to work on her through the plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor.
She had other people work on her other than you.
Yes.
She may have liked you better than the other people. That doesn't diminish the fact that you knew that you weren't supposed to solicit clients. You knew that. I believe that you knew that.
Yes.
Because that's standard fare. So your excuse is you thought you developed a personal relationship with her.
Correct, Your Honor.
How many other people did you develop a personal relationship with?
Majority of the clients that I had who were returning clients of mine, I felt like I had built personal relationships with.
If you're patching around with somebody's face or scrubbing their body or giving them a scrub to get hair off on every part of the body, then you develop an intimate relationship with
Correct.
somebody. Now, your first name is Kennedy?
Yes.
Kennedy, did you ever go out to dinner with Miss Wyatt?
No, I did not.
She ever invite you to her house?
No, she did not.
Was the only time you ever saw Miss Wyatt while you were having a service?
That is correct.
You see, that's not an intimate relationship. That's just stealing clients, Miss Wyatt.
Okay.
So my question to you is, you're seeking damages, okay? Did you seek injunctive relief?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
I didn't know about injunctive relief. In addition, because of the staff leaving, because of solicitation, admitted solicitation by Alashani to my attorney, and I have a sworn affidavit for that. Because of that, I ordered them a cease and desist, and they ignored the cease and desist. Alashani told my attorney that she did not
No, you can't tell.
solicit
You
hearsay.
can't tell me what she told your attorney. Do you understand?
Even if I have an affidavit,
Is your attorney in the military?
no, I just have a notarized affidavit
From whom?
my
From her?
attorney.
No, I don't take affidavits from attorneys.
Okay.
It's ridiculous. Are you still in operation, Miss Wyatt?
Yes, Your Honor.
How many people work for, with, or to you?
It's just me. I have my own personal LLC, and she has her own personal LLC, so none of our money is combined.
Miss Wyatt, how many of your former clients from Miss Landy's business followed you?
I would say a good portion. I don't have an exact number.
Yes.
Here you go.
Now, just tell me.
I would say at least.
No.
No, I'm sorry.
I don't want you to say I would say at least. I assume you have names, people.
I have names and people here.
How many of your clients went to Miss Wyatt?
20.
Not were solicited. Follow me very carefully. Not solicited by her, but actually left your business to go with her.
Actually left my business to go with her.
20.
Yes, Your
I'd
Honor.
like to see. Does that sound right, Miss Wyatt?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then I don't have to see. She says that that's about right.
Your Honor, I would also like to add that after I left, she did send out a mass text allowing all of the clients who had ever seen me to be aware that I was no longer there. So that also allowed more clients to reach out to me in different aspects.
No, my dear, you made the mistake.
Okay.
You made the mistake by opening up an office within a 7-mile radius, which you can't do.
Okay.
You solicited her clients. I thought maybe just 1 or 2, but 20, that's a lot of clients. 20 recurring clients is a lot of clients. Miss Landy's request in her small claims case is the maximum of the jurisdiction, which is $10,000. And I think that she deserves every penny of that.
Okay.
Because what you did was wrong and a breach of your contract with her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're
Thank
finished.
you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
And I have to tell you something, that's ongoing,
Okay.
just so that you're aware.
Alashani, then Angela.
I felt like the work environment was very unstable.
I have so many people to testify, including employees, that it's not a hostile work environment.
And I was constantly anxious there.
I was doing so much to improve the quality of the business by changing policies and procedures,
I had to do what was best for me and my family. I'm a single mom, so
hiring a business coach, working with an HR team.
let the better business win, I guess.
The better business has won.
Sarah and Judy.
I was a little bit confused. Maybe you can shed some light on it for me. Why the plaintiff wouldn't sue for injunctive relief, because injunctive relief is suing not so much for damages, but to get someone to stop doing something. So in this case, it seemed to me that the proper ask, per se, would be injunctive relief to stop the defendant from operating her business in violation of her contract. But she didn't do that. She sued for damages instead. And I just think that this same problem could keep happening, that I think it's a good lesson for people to educate themselves or hire a lawyer to find the proper relief. Because what's to say that this is going to stop today? I'm sure she'll keep seeing the 20 clients.
Well, she's going to keep seeing the 20 clients. This judgment today was more compensatory than punitive, because if she had taken one client with her, well, she's in violation of the contract, and some token violation would have been appropriate. But she took 20 clients with her.
I got the feeling from you that you weren't exactly in line with the $10,000 number until you heard
Until
about
I heard
20
the 20.
clients.
I mean, that's really
whole business,
some
really.
sort of chutzpah to knowing, and I believe she absolutely knew, she's a smart cookie, knowing that you had a non-compete because her friend, who she also took with her, had the same documents signed in 2017. So, and she's clearly a businesswoman, so that would be a consistent practice of hers. I don't know who took the contract out of the file cabinet. It's for another day. I reconstructed it. I actually don't know why she wouldn't sue for injunctive relief as well as punitive damages. It would have been an option for her.
Yeah.
Title: Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to Judy. Jessica Latar is suing his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, for unpaid demolition work.
Judge Judy enters.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case 2115, Atar versus Rose.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Attar, you were hired to do some, according to you, demolition work and other work at a property owned by Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes. You gave them an estimate for that work. I think the estimate was $11,500. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it was outlined what work you were supposed to do. You started that work, and according to you, at some point there was disagreement with either or both of the Rhodeses, and they stopped payment on a check that they gave you.
Correct.
And the check that they gave you was for $4,200. And then you stopped work for them.
Yes, ma'am, we're
And
finished.
so you're suing them for the canceled check and for other unpaid work that you did that you didn't get paid for.
Correct.
Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes say that they were not satisfied with the quality of your work. It cost them $9,000 to both replace things that were stolen from their property by either you or members of your team, something which I don't think that you question that somebody from your team, not you, somebody from your team may have taken metal property of theirs that they didn't own. So let's go back. Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes, is this a new property to you, or is this a property that you owned for a while?
It's a new property to us.
That's what I thought. So is it a private house?
Yes, and we were remodeling it.
Okay, when did you purchase it?
We purchased in January of 2021.
Is it a single-family residence? How much did you pay for it?
$769,000.
Describe the property to me.
It's in northern Altaloma or Rancho Cucamonga. It's an acre property, has 2 levels on it, and a single-family ranch-style home on it right now. And what we asked him to do was demolition the lower half.
Do you have a photograph?
I do.
I'd like to look at the photograph of what you wanted him to do.
Mary hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
That's what the lower half looked like before.
So this whole portion you wanted him
Correct.
to demolish and remove the debris.
And grade flat.
Is that correct, sir?
I can't see from here, ma'am.
Okay, we're going to show it to you. To demolish it, flatten it, fill it in.
Remove all the debris.
Yes.
Okay. And did you have a written contract?
We did not.
Well, that's always a mistake.
Always.
How did you find him?
I believe I got his business card. It was on my personal car, I think at Home Depot. We had bought this house and we tried to find somebody to do the work, but...
Mr. Rhodes, let me tell you that the best way to find somebody is not somebody who leaves a card on your car at Home Depot or any place else.
Yeah.
It was a difficult time to find contractors with COVID and everything at that time.
And at the time, I'm also going to add, because I read in the paper somewhere at the time, he didn't have a license.
He did not.
And you knew he didn't have a license.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I told him, Your Honor. I do not
Just a
have
second.
license.
They didn't say no, we didn't know. They said we knew. So you got somebody who had no license to do what you wanted him to do, and you got his number from a card that he left on your windshield. Did you ask for references? That's either a yes or a no.
No, and I'm not really sure actually 100% on where I found that card. I think
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
But he did tell us he was in the process of getting his license, that it was coming.
Yeah. I know.
What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. You're two intelligent people. Okay. So you hired an unlicensed contractor to do work on your house and agreed to pay him $11,500. Now, Mr. Attar, the $11,000 included labor and materials. Is that correct?
There was no material. It was labor and bins.
Well,
bins.
that's material. Labor and bins to remove
Yes, ma'am.
all the equipment that you needed
Yes, ma'am.
to complete the job.
Yes, ma'am. I
Is
got
that
pictures
correct?
of before, too. of what I was supposed to do, and I took a picture.
Well, no, I have that.
You have the wrong picture, Your Honor.
Okay, I'd like to see the picture that he has.
Kevin retrieves a photo from Attar, then hands it to Judy.
I was supposed to do from the post all the way to the other post, remove everything, and the pool and the deck.
Mr. Attar, the $11,500 was an all-inclusive figure.
Yes, Your Honor.
One of the things that became an issue is a bobcat.
Correct.
From what I'm piecing together, you hired somebody in a bobcat to do a bobcat. That's a big piece of equipment that knocks down something.
I rented a bobcat.
And somebody who operated it.
My worker.
You didn't know how to operate the bobcat.
I know how to operate bobcat, but I was controlling the demolition site, ma'am. I was like many things
Just a
was going at the
second.
same time. I had to control everything.
Mr. Attar, something happened with the bobcat, the original one that you got. What happened with it?
It broke down on us.
No, it didn't break down on them. It broke down on you.
On us.
It broke down on you.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I took it back, and next day supposed to deliver me another one, but they sent me a drunk driver and another broken down bobcat. I returned it. At that moment, I asked Mrs. Rhodes, can you please go down Home Depot, which is like a mile away, so we don't stop wasting time, rent a bobcat.
Just a second. Why should she rent a bobcat, sir? Your $11,500 included the bobcat.
But I was paid for
No. If you're going to pay for it, that's one thing. Then what are you sending her for? If your $11,500 figure included all materials, then she doesn't have to rent a bobcat. If you rented one that didn't work, rent one that works. How much of a down payment did they give you?
Presume was $4,000.
When did you start the job?
I started the job on 15th of January.
When did you leave the job?
I was asked to leave on the 2nd of February.
On February 2nd?
Yes, ma'am. Not to go back, I will call the cops on you.
Between January 15th and February 2nd, other than the $4,000, did they give you any other money?
Yes, Your Honor, they did.
How much money did they give you?
They gave me up to $7,000.
So they gave you an additional $3,000?
Yes, and $1,000 check.
Your Honor, that was within the first week we gave him.
It doesn't matter to me. My question was between January 15th and February 2nd, they gave you $7,000.
Correct.
Explain the other $4,200, which is the check that they stopped payment on.
Okay. I'll happily explain to you. The bobcat she rented for me on her behalf, it cost $329 to rent per day. And I rented for one day only, but they charged me $800.
No, that's not correct.
Just a second. I didn't ask you anything.
Okay.
Caption, coming up.
Do you have a photograph of what the property looked like when you left?
Yes, ma'am. The last picture I took before I was kicked out of the property.
You're talking, I'm not listening to you.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Attar and Mary and Michael Rhodes.
Michael Attar claims his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, owe for unpaid demolition work. Mary and Michael are countersuing for lost wages, equipment rental, and missing property.
Now, they paid you $7,000.
Correct.
They wrote you another check.
The final check was supposed to be $5,000, but they only gave me $4,200 because they mined $800 for the bobcat rental.
Just a second. First of all, the total bill wasn't 7 and 5. 7 and 5, even my rudimentary math, is $12,000. That would be $500 more than your agreed contract, which was for $11,500.
They gave me $6,500 because they gave me small checks. They gave me the first initial check, and they gave me smaller ones.
Sir, you're the businessman, whether you have a license or not. I asked you before how much money did they give you between January 15th and February 2nd, and you said $7,000.
I didn't write it down, Your Honor.
Well, you're here asking for money, and you have to write it down. You have to have
work
some.
I've done performed already. And
No, sir.
And I just did the job, Your Honor. I did 7, 8 other side jobs for them.
I don't care whether you did 7 or 8 side jobs. Your original agreement with them was for $11,500, including all material. Now, what you said to me was that they gave you $7,000, and you said they're supposed to give me another $5,000. Well, another $5,000 is more than your quote.
Ma'am, the balance was $5,000.
How?
The initial check, then they gave me $1,000, $1,000, $1,000.
How much money did you give them all together that he cashed?
$7,000.
Then they owed you $4,500. pursuant to your agreement.
We agreed to 11,000, not 11,500.
11.5, Your Honor.
Anybody have any proof of
No,
what
no,
the
verbal
agreed
contract.
of what the agreed amount was?
We had
No,
a
it was
verbal
verbal.
contract with me and Mr. Rhodes.
Fine. I will indicate that it's $11,500. If they gave you 7, they don't owe you 5. They owed you the difference between 11,500 and the 7 that they gave you. Now, one of the things that you disputed, Mr. Attar, was this Bobcat. Who paid for the Bobcat? Show me.
They minus it from the final price.
Just a second. Was that an argument?
The argument about is, Your Honor, is they rented for 1 day, but they charged me 2 days, $800. There's no Bobcat rental for $800 for 2 days. I got.
Do you have the bill for the
Your Honor.
Bobcat?
I do, yes. And it was for 2 days
Go over a certain time.
because it was returned late. So they charged a second day. But in his text messages, he did request it for 2 days.
Mary hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Is that the total price?
Yes, and I did not subtract it
Just a
from
second.
his payment.
Total contract was $652.74?
Yes.
Do you have a photograph of what the property looked like when you left?
Yes, ma'am. The last picture I took before I was kicked out of the property.
You're talking, I'm not listening to you. Just show me a picture.
Yes, ma'am.
Attar hands a photo to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
This is not a picture.
Mr. Attar, you're the businessman.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your company.
Yes, ma'am.
Company requires A, a license before you operate, which you didn't have.
If you do-
B, it requires a written contract. You're the businessman. They're people who bought a house who got your number off a windshield someplace. You're the businessman, and you want the parameters. You want them fixed. So I don't know if it's 11,000 or 11,500. Do you understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Right. Well, that's your mistake. You look as if you've probably been in business for a long time.
14 years.
And is what you're telling me you don't have written contracts?
All my contracts are verbal.
Then how many times have you been in court, sir?
Never.
Never.
I never had a stop
That's-
payment check. Never
Well,
paid me on time, Your Honor.
It's the problem. So when you finished, the debris wasn't all removed.
That wood, they kept telling me, don't touch it. Their neighbor, cousin, whoever's going to come pick it up. That was just cut cord wood.
No. There's brick, there's wood, there's cement.
We cleaned all that. I came personally cleaned all
Just
that.
a second. What I asked you, Mr. Attar, was show me a picture of the property when you left. This is the picture that you showed me.
That was the last, before I had more work, I came in and did more. I wasn't taking
have
pictures. I wasn't
pictures.
expecting somebody to stop payment on a check, Your Honor. I was
have
not
pictures
expecting
of
that.
what it looked like when he left.
Mary hands a photo to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Well, what are you showing me here? This brick that's here?
They piled it there and then left it there.
Well, that's
That's
probably
what
a
they
good
wanted
No, it was
to put on the
supposed to be-
side, Your Honor.
It was supposed to be removed.
So this is the back.
That's the
This is-
picture of the sagging patio because he removed part of the supports that were holding up the patio that he wasn't supposed to. So it's now sagging.
Now, this is the picture that you gave me
Yes.
when you told me
That's
this is what you
standing-
wanted, leveled, cleared, and made flat.
Right.
Now, I want to see your picture of what this looked like when he left.
You have it. It's in some of those photos.
Flats leveled.
You're talking about this?
Yeah.
That's part of it. The close-ups, that's part of it.
Well, it looks like most of the stuff is done. It looked like a lot of cleanup left.
No, ma'am. We've done all the cleanup.
Well, I haven't
was
seen
also-
that, so then what you're supposed to do is take a
They were
It was
photograph.
taking
also, it
pictures
was
while I
also
was still-
buried underneath. These are the photos of when we did it ourselves and really leveled it out. And as we were doing that, we found so much buried underneath that should have been removed, but his Bobcat person buried it all.
Your Honor.
Being buried.
All the debris, all the concrete brick.
Okay,
And
let me see the bill
Honor.
from the.
no, we did it ourselves. We rented equipment and did it ourselves on his vacation.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. $4,500 is so far what's owed on this contract. Now, your counterclaim is money owed for lost work, equipment rentals, labor and missing damages to property. What money owed for lost work?
During the second week that he was working, he called and said that his crew had left. This was the second day of use of,
fired him.
supposed to be use of the Bobcat that I rented.
Fired him, Your
Okay,
Honor.
Second
if you
day.
interrupt me again, I'm just dismissing your case. Do you understand?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
So the
Just
second-
explain lost work. Who's lost work?
His.
Oh, forget it.
Well, he called and said his crew left.
Forget
that He
it.
can't finish the job.
You weren't living there.
Not yet, no.
You weren't living there. Okay. He wants to go, go. I'm not interested in his lost wages for taking care of his house. So far, you owe the man the balance on his contract, unless you had somebody else do it, which is absolutely fine. And I would look at that removal of debris, what it costs you, and you're absolutely entitled to that. Deducted from what you owe him, which is $4,500.
But he didn't finish the job.
Just a second. You tell me, how am I supposed to gauge how much of the job he didn't finish? Did he not complete $2,500 worth, $3,500 worth, $1,500 worth?
I think the $7,000 we paid him was overpaid. He didn't have to end up removing an entire pool. He only had to remove...
That's your problem. Just a second. I read that. You said it's not a big pool. It wasn't 8 feet. It was only 24 inches. He gave you a price to level everything. Nothing delineated, nothing in a written contract. The pool turns out to be 2 feet instead of 6 feet or 2 feet instead of 8 feet. Well, if he was the contractor and he came out and he looked at the pool, he said, oh, this is an 8-foot pool, and it turned out it's a 12-foot pool, he'd be stuck with 11.5, just like you're stuck with 11.5 because it was shallower. Now, you owe him $4,500 unless you want to produce for me bills that you have for rental equipment, et cetera, and I will absolutely deduct that from the $4,500. Just give me the bills and the amount of equipment. Don't say nothing, Mr. Retard. Mr. Rhodes, did you rent a Bobcat?
The one that I cleaned up the yard with?
Yes.
I rented a piece of equipment.
Jump up!
Yes.
Caption coming up.
And you know how they pick up metal?
No, I don't know that, sir.
There's people
I'm a
that drive down the
television
street with
personality.
pickup trucks.
I don't know about people driving down the street to pick up metal. I've never had somebody drive down the street and say, I'm looking for metal. They don't even come down my street and ask if I want sharp knives.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Attar and Mary and Michael Rhodes.
Michael Attar has accused his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, of refusing to pay for demolition work. Mary and Michael claim he never finished the job and stole their property.
Now, what did you rent?
A skip loader.
That's different from a Bobcat.
Yes, that's correct.
Smaller?
I would say bigger.
Bigger. And do you remember how much it cost you? Did you rent it from Home Depot?
No. It's from a local rental yard. I think it was
All the equipment we rented
in Ontario.
was $1,300.
Yeah.
Find it.
Yeah.
Find the bill.
They didn't print it, so now I gotta...
How many days did you have it, Mr. Rhodes?
4.
I'm dismissing your counterclaim, Mrs. Rhodes. Do you want to know why? Because I asked him a specific question, and you answered. Do you understand? Do you understand? That part of your counterclaim, because you don't have it, you can't find it. So far, you owe him $4,500. Not $8,600, but $4,500. Now, do you have any proof that Mr. Attar or someone from his team stole copper piping or whatever piping that you claim was missing? Do you have any proof that either Mr. Attar or anyone under his authority took property from you?
Yes, we have text messages back and forth.
Okay, I'll read them.
Mary produces a document, then hands it to Kevin. He brings it to Judy, who reviews it.
Okay, so what you're referring to with regard to the stolen property is you send a picture and there's a little piece of pipe there, one piece of pipe, and you say, Mike, did you or your guys happen to grind off 2 metal poles and concrete blocks? The kids use those for volleyball nets. And he says, oh my God, no, sir, but I'm guessing the person whom I gave my metal to, no problem, Michael, please give, and I don't see the rest of this message.
Yes, so that was the beginning of things we noticed that were missing.
Oh, I don't care.
And then,
this is what you're talking
but
about?
Yes, he's saying he let a metal person onto our yard,
Okay.
and they went and took everything that was metal.
Okay.
Attar shakes his head.
Okay. Now, Mr. Attar,
Yes, Your Honor.
I want you to tell me about the missing metal on this property.
She was standing right there, and there was a metal guy that drives down the street. And you know how they pick up metal?
No, I don't know that, sir.
There's people
I'm a
that drive down the
television
street with pickup
personality.
trucks.
I don't know about people driving down the street to pick up metal. I've never had somebody drive down the street and say, I'm looking for metal. They don't even come down my street and ask if I want sharp knives.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Very much, Your
Do you
Honor.
understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Okay. Who is this person?
This person was picking up metal, and I
Just a
asked for permission. I said, ma'am,
Just a
could he come
second.
down the property?
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Was this person picking up metal for nothing?
Yes,
Just
ma'am.
a second. Yeah. No, you're a business guy. Mr. Rattar, somebody drives down the street and says, you know, I see you doing construction. Is there any metal around here that you want me to dispose of?
Yes, ma'am, they do a lot.
Yes. And then they look around. This is what you tell them. They look around
Yes.
and they take the metal for nothing.
Yes, ma'am. This would be cheaper for me, instead of load it on my trailer and take it to the recycling metal yard. to
So
recycle it.
what metal did they take, sir? I assume
Everything
you watched.
that I gave him.
What
was
did you
right
give
there.
them?
Nobody went up there and cut no poles, ma'am.
Well, they sent you a picture of a pole, sir, and in response to the picture of the pole, you said, oh my God, I'm guessing the person whom I gave my metal to.
I'm guessing.
No problem. And then you say later, tell me what it is, and I will either look high and low to get it back or replace it. That's what you say.
Yes, I offered to replace it.
That's what you say.
I offered to
Okay.
replace it.
Now, next question. I need an itemized list and what the value was of the metal taken.
No, there's a list of everything. They're listed in there.
Mary hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
What is this?
Those are all the damages, but the metal is listed in there separately of the items that are missing.
No, it isn't. This is a whole bunch of other things that you prepared for
but
this case.
It's in there
They could-
underneath. There's the horse feeder. Part of the corral was cut
But
off.
this is something that you wrote yourself.
Yes, you
This
said an
isn't
itemized
this isn't
list.
If they took 6 feet of pipe, get me a bill from Home Depot for the replacement of that pipe.
Oh, I have,
All the bills for the replacement of metal, not what you prepared for this litigation.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Itemized list.
Mary hands another document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Did you take down a horse corral?
No, Your Honor, I did not take no horse corral. I have nothing
Horse
to do.
corral, is that metal or is it?
It's made out of galvanized metal, yeah. They cut pieces off of that were sticking up to take to recycle, I guess.
Just a second. Was there a 4-sided horse corral?
Yes,
That looked like this,
yes.
that they took down?
They cut pieces that were sticking up above the horse corral, attached to the horse corral.
You're being petty. You're being petty. $306 Ram's price, galvanized wall-mounted horse feeder. Did you take a horse feeder?
No, Your Honor, I got no.
Yo, Mr. Rattar, $4,500. Judgment for the plaintiff. Counterclaims dismissed. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Mary then Attar.
Well, his equipment broke, and he wanted us to rent the equipment for him.
Equipment died because things break down.
And then the next day, he calls and says he can't finish it.
At that moment, I didn't have a credit card to my name. And that's the honest truth.
So we pretty much figured that was job abandonment at that point.
I'm going to have a written contract in the future.
Don't hire
Always
him.
hire a professional.
Sarah and Judy.
I could not believe that your first question to him when he said that he'd been working as a contractor for 14 years was, and you've been working all 14 of those years unlicensed?
Oh, yeah.
I was waiting for the
Yeah.
question. I was
Yeah,
waiting at the edge of my
different
seat, and it
minds.
never came.
Different minds. Yeah, should have slipped me a note.
I should have.
You should have slipped me a note. No, that actually didn't cross my mind, but that's a good question.
Yeah, oral contracts and no license.
No license, but there's no question. He did the work.
Yeah, no, I
He
agree.
did the work, and they were really dickering over who was going to absorb the cost of this second Bobcat that they had to get, which was really ridiculous. If they had had another contractor who came and completed the job,
You would have awarded that.
I would have deducted it from the $4,500 that they owed him. But absent that, the fact that he rented some sort of piece of equipment and came and cleaned up
Yeah.
the property was not important to me, and the rest of their case was nonsense. Next time, they won't employ somebody for $11,000
Big
from a
job.
card from your windshield,
At Home Depot.
from
Anywhere.
wherever, and not say, okay, listen, maybe I'll give him a shot. Give me 3 of your last references
Yeah.
to call.
It's a good lesson to people out there, doing work.
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we're done.
Title, Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv. Palin are suing Heather's ex-husband, Scott Manis, for impound fees, harassment, and defamation.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Case 2142, Brown, Palin versus Mannings.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Palin, this is your former husband.
That is correct, Your Honor.
How long were you married?
18 years?
And this is your daughter.
Correct.
Is this your only child?
With Mr. Manis, it is.
Yes.
Yes.
You have other children?
One other, yes.
How old?
32.
When did you and Mr. Manis separate?
I moved out of the family home in March of 2018.
And this is your boyfriend?
Correct.
I'm going to, in broad strokes, at least try to reconcile both the complaint and the answer in this case. I assume there was a time when your daughter, whose first name is? Trisha was living with you after the separation.
We had a mutual divorce decree of 50-50.
And was that honored?
Until September 4th of 2020, Mr. Manis had brought Trisha back to my home. And while we were out of the home, he had her pack her belongings.
No, okay. Let's stop there. Trisha, how old are you?
I'm 19, Your Honor.
Right subsequent to the separation and the divorce, until September of 2020, you shared custody.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
And then Trisha decided she would prefer to live with her father.
Correct.
For whatever reason. I don't have to go into it, because this doesn't really have to do with who she chose to live with or where she was living. It has to do with a car. Okay. So while she was living with Mr. Manis purchased a car.
Yes, ma'am.
For her use.
Correct.
In what month did you purchase a car for her use? Month and year?
Oh boy, I believe that was probably February of 2019, I believe. 18 or 19.
Well, let's figure it out.
It was about 6 months prior to the case with her. So September 4th, we had the car. It would have been probably June or July of the same year.
So you bought her a car a couple of months before she decided to come and live with you?
Correct.
Okay, I got it.
She had just obtained her driver's license.
That's okay. I'm just trying to get a timetable. Right before she decided to come to live with you and not have 50-50 custody anymore, you purchased a car for her.
Correct.
And she drove that car in June or July, August?
Correct.
At your house?
At both houses.
She was allowed to go to take the car
Yes, ma'am.
to their house?
Correct.
When she saw her mother?
Yes.
And then bring it back?
Correct.
There was a time when you took the car away from her. When was that?
Probably mid-August.
Mid-August of 2020?
Correct. Well, the threat was to take the car away because her grades were slipping. I didn't actually take the car away.
When did you take it away?
I actually never did take it away. Her mother and her mother's boyfriend decided to purchase her another car to eliminate my threat of taking away the car.
Well, I don't know if that's because, but they decided to
Correct.
purchase another car. And what did you do with the car that you had gotten for your daughter?
I sold that.
When did you sell it?
Probably a month or so after she got the other car.
And the threat was made to your daughter because you were concerned about how she was doing in school or how she was doing socially. What were the reasons?
Well, her grades were slipping. Okay. So I wanted her to concentrate more on her grades rather than...
Grades were slipping?
Correct, at school.
Did she give you any reason for that?
She was under a lot of pressure with the divorce.
So you purchased a car, Mr. Brown and Ms. Palin, with the understanding, according to your complaint, that the car would remain in your name. There would be payments made on the car, and once the car was paid, it would transfer to Trisha. Well, one thing led to another. Things sort of went south. And according to what I've read in these papers, you got sort of annoyed. And the car that you had purchased was in the physical custody of Trisha, who was living with her father, and Mr. Manis caused the car to be towed and impounded, which caused you substantial expense to get the car out of impound. And he did that maliciously.
Correct.
And you want him to pay those expenses because you did, in fact, get the car out of impound, subsequently sold it. How much were the impound fees?
$1,565.22, Your Honor.
Okay. And Mr. Manis, in defense of that, acknowledges that he towed the car, your car. He towed the car, which was at your house?
Your Honor, I had
Where was the car?
The car at the time was at my house.
That's what I'm asking you. The car was at your house. You had it towed to impound. And you had it towed on what date, sir?
The car was impounded on September 4th.
Of what year?
2020, I believe.
And your defense for doing that?
Your Honor, he requested...
Just a second. Your defense for doing that is that you were merely following Mr. Brown's instructions.
and the police officers.
You were following Mr. Brown's instructions.
Correct.
Yes, you have a police officer here.
I have several police reports, Your Honor.
About what?
This isn't just about the car. There's several years of harassment.
No, I'm dealing with the car.
I understand.
Right now, I'm dealing with the car.
So I have the several officers that came instructed us to get the car removed from the property.
Well, that may be, sir. You can have the car removed from the property and ask the police to have it deposited in front of their house.
I understand.
Yeah, you chose not to do that.
May I show you his request to have the car towed? He offered a reward for the car to be towed.
Just a second. I want you to tell me where I'm wrong so far.
Scott grins and shakes his head. Caption coming up.
See, what we can all do to make her as unhappy as possible. So I really don't understand two people who probably, in their own way, love their child, but hate each other more than they love their child, which to me is absolutely bizarre.
Scott shakes his head. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Curtis, Heather, and Scott.
Curtis Brown and Heather Palin claim Heather's ex-husband, Scott Mattis, owes for impound fees. Scott is countersuing Heather for filing a false CPS report.
Okay. You had the car towed to an impound. You did not call him or your ex-wife the day that you had the car towed to impound. It was some period of time later, if the fees for impound were $1,500. Your excuse for that is you were merely following his request. His request. That's what you wrote in your answer. Is that wrong?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, so now we know that you didn't notify them when you had the car towed.
Your Honor.
Because you could have had the car towed to the local police precinct and called them and said, come pick up the car. It can't be in front of my house anymore.
Your Honor.
He was actually at my house that night.
Just a second. I didn't ask you anything.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
The police, when they came to our house, the car was present. They acknowledged the presence of the car.
You can't tell me what the police did, sir.
I have the reports, Your Honor.
I'd like to see, I will see the report. What I'm asking you is, there are two things. If you wanted the car out of your custody and you wanted to quietly and stop the friction, send it back to the people who purchased it, you could have done that. You chose not to do that.
Your Honor, the reason I chose not to do that is because of I have several false allegations from CPS, the police. I did not choose to have any contact with them.
You don't have to have any contact with them, sir.
In order to...
You don't have to have any contact with them. Just like you paid a tow truck company to take the car to impound, you pay the tow truck company, you live in a private house or an apartment.
Private house.
You have the tow truck company drop the car off in front of their house. Now, after you had the car towed to an impound company, did you contact them in any way?
No, I didn't.
No.
I was instructed
Did you
not
ask
to
the
by
police to contact them and tell them?
The police knew, yes.
I didn't ask you what the police knew. You can't tell me what the police knew. So you had the car towed on September the 4th. And when were you notified the car was in impound?
I received certified letter on September 26th, which was a Friday. It said to contact them Monday through Friday between 8 and 4.
Just a second. You received that on September 26th.
Yes.
Is that the first notice that you had that the car was impounded?
Correct.
That's
okay. So now the onus is upon you, Mr. Manis. I want you to prove your defense to me, and your defense was you were following Mr. Brown's instructions.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. That's all I want to see.
Here you go, Your Honor.
Scott hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
So this says $100 reward to anyone that impounds my car. Call a tow truck and tell them to contact me.
Yes, Your
You
Honor.
know this number.
Yes.
Yes. Well, did you do that?
The tow company sent them a letter on 9/10 of 2020, and I have the proof of that also, Your Honor.
Yeah, I would like to see what you're looking at. That's not on September 4th.
No.
That's not on September 4th.
9/10, they sent that out,
Okay.
the notice.
Let's see.
Judy reviews another document.
Well, this says that attempts were made on 9/21, 9/26, and 10/5. That's what it looks like, attempts made.
That's when they had attempted to deliver, but they did not pick it up.
So they had no notice.
They had notice.
No,
did
they
not
had
pick
no
up
notice.
They
They
didn't pick
had
it up.
no notice.
If they would have gone to their post office box, they would have had notice.
If I had taller parents, I would have been 5'7".
Heather grins.
They had no notice. Okay, $1,565. That's what you owe them. It was a malicious act.
Your Honor, this isn't just about the car.
This is all.
Horrendous
Listen to me.
False
This is
allegations
all.
through CPS. If you would please.
Let me. You have a counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
And your counterclaim I'm going to hear. Right now, you owe Mr. Brown $1,565 because what you did was malicious. And I don't understand something. You have one child together. I assume that you don't want to make her miserable. That when she was born, you said, oh, let's see what we can do over her lifetime to make her as unhappy as possible. Let's see what we can all do to make her as unhappy as possible. So I really don't understand two people who probably, in their own way, love their child, but hate each other more than they love their child, which to me is absolutely bizarre. So right now, because you did a malicious thing by having their car towed and not giving them a heads up that you had the car towed to a place that was going to cost them money, you owe them $1,565. Now I'm going to hear your claim that they made false charges to CPS about you.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, can I say something?
About what?
The car.
Before you say anything, did I say anything that was inaccurate? Did your father have the car towed? The answer is he's acknowledged that. He had the car towed and put it in a place where neither your mother or her boyfriend knew where it was, resulting in their having to pay fines to get the car out. Is there anything that I said was wrong?
That is partially incorrect because I had contacted my mother in the time and asked either.
Okay, that's that I'll hear. You contacted your mother.
I did contact my mother previously, not only on normal messages, but also on messenger messages, including how I wanted either the title or my money back and that they could have the car before that. Once the Facebook post was...
All I want you to show me is that you notified either your mother or Mr. Brown that the car was impounded when you notified them.
She also did ask my best friend where it was.
All I want, that's all I want. Don't tell me what you said to your best friend who's not here. All I want to do is see where you notified your mother that the car was impounded.
So there is this one about money in my account, which was about the car.
I don't want to see anything about the car. I only want to see where you notified your mother or Mr. Brown that the car was impounded.
Okay. I don't have the text about that, but I did notify her that it was impounded.
Well, I don't know that, and it seems to me you weren't talking to your mother on a regular basis because there was a lot of acrimony. If you have it, you have it. If you don't have it, you don't have it. So, Tricia, you could sit down.
Tricia sits. Caption coming up.
I'm telling you that it is inappropriate, the act of sharing a bed with a teenage female child as a father would give me cause to pause.
Scott shakes his head.
Defendant Scott Manis has accused his ex-wife, Heather Palin, of filing a false report with Child Protective Services.
Now, it was a malicious act to have the car impounded. There's no question in my mind that if they knew it was impounded, they would have gotten it out before. $1,565. Now, you want to show me what information you have with regard to filing a false CPS report?
Correct. I have the CPS reports and the police investigators report.
Okay, may I see it, please?
Scott hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
This report, it was in September of 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's been several years of these reports and
just
disgusting allegations.
So you filed or you made allegations to Child Protective Services?
CPS actually contacted me, Your Honor, regarding several calls that they had received for the welfare of my daughter, Tricia.
In what year?
I was contacted, I believe it was 2019, and again in 2020.
They contacted you?
Correct.
For what?
To do an interview because of a claim that was made regarding Tricia's safety.
That were made by an anonymous source?
I don't know who made them, Your Honor. In Minnesota, you can't make multiple reports by one person. I cannot call day after day to make reports.
I'm just asking you, did you at some point claim that you had reason to believe that your daughter was being in some way physically abused by her father? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes, to a point.
Yeah, okay. And part of that involved a sexual abuse.
That one was not claimed by me. I did state to CPS that he does have her sleep in his bed with him.
Well, I have to tell you something.
Which is a little weird.
I have to tell you something. That doesn't seem a little weird. It seems a lot weird that your daughter acknowledged, sir.
Your Honor?
Your daughter. What I'm telling you is, it is inappropriate for a man to sleep in the same bed as his 15-year-old daughter.
Your Honor,
that's
we
my
went to a
view.
concert.
And if that's true, there may be a reasonable explanation for it. She said she was scared, whatever, but when interviewed, that's what it says in here. But I'm telling you, as a mother and a grandmother, in my view, and I'm not a professional psychiatrist or psychologist, but it is inappropriate for a teenager to sleep in the same bed with her father. Period.
Scott shakes his head.
Maybe some countries it's appropriate, but I...
Your Honor, we went to a concert.
What?
And shared a hotel room at a...
No, that's not what your daughter said. No. That's not what your daughter said, sir.
May I finish?
Yes.
When she was going through all the stuff with the divorce and everything, she came into my room. I was asleep. She laid next to me. I'm asleep.
Listen to me. I'm not suggesting
Your Honor,
that
there's
anything
nothing
inappropriate... Sir,
absolutely right.
understand this. I'm not suggesting that any inappropriate actions happen between you and your daughter. I'm telling you that it is inappropriate, the act of sharing a bed with a teenage female child as a father would give me cause to pause. I would say, you know what? That's not a good idea. It's especially, sweetheart, it's especially not a good idea when parents seem to be feuding. It's grist for the mill. You may want to go and, if she's scared, say, sweetheart, I'll go and sit in a chair in your room.
Many times.
In your room.
Many times.
But please, this is inappropriate. Do you understand? It's inappropriate.
Did you read the detective's statements in there?
No, I'm not interested in the detective statements.
Obviously.
If what your daughter says is true as a result of the investigation, then there was reason for somebody to suggest to CPS to do an investigation. So listen, bottom line, I can't tell the two of you to stop feuding. I can't. You either hate each other more than you love your daughter. That's the answer. And this court can't fix that. All I can do is fix $1,565, which is what you owe them for impound fees. This case is over. Thank you.
Yeah.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Scott, then Heather.
I think the judge is wrong.
I am thankful for the judge.
She didn't read all the evidence. Multiple pages weren't read.
He's very good at manipulating others
And multiple accusations.
and being the person that, oh, pity me, feel sorry for me.
False allegations to CPS.
My ex-husband decided that he would show me.
No, I was trying to get my daughter her money back or the title to her car.
He actually had the car as of August 24th. Then he brought her to the house and moved her out on September 4th. And that's when it just started going downhill.
She has a lot of hatred.
I believe he's very angry that I divorced him.
That she falls off a bridge.
And he lost the control over me that he had while we were married.
Judy and Sarah.
You know, Sarah, I've been doing these family cases for probably 40 plus years. And it always makes me sad that the mother, the father, even the new boyfriend, there is a window in life when you feel relatively healthy, nothing hurts you, you don't have a bad back, you don't have to worry about indigestion, you can walk around without a walker, you look pretty reasonable, and that you will take years away from that good time to create negativity around not only yourself, but the people that you love.
I think that's great advice.
I always said to people, both men and women, that, you know, it's one journey. You can take that journey and put as much positive energy into it.
Yeah, I just felt bad for the daughter. I mean, I know she's grown now, 19, but still 19, it still hurts your feelings to hear and see that your parents hate each other more than they care and love about you.
Well, maybe that statement
will make a difference. You never
will
know.
make a difference, because I'm sure it's not true.
Yeah.
I have a feeling.
But when it's said to you in a court in front of your child, hopefully they take some action on it then.
Well, hopefully they'll say, boing, you know. I mean, she has a new boyfriend, and he's got his daughter who's living with him. They should be happy.
Yeah.
And they're divorced.
Close the book and move on.
Close the book.
Yeah.
Her mother and her boyfriend should get a puppy together. Well, they should
Not
not
until
until
they
they
get
got married. Not until they. But do something. This is a grown young woman.
Have a healthy
Should
adult relationship with your adult
grown
child.
Right. Not over a car. But you know, teenagers do crazy things for a car. I think that some teenagers would live with Satan if they bought him a car.
Title, Judy Justice.
Are you having a family dispute? Go to judyjustice.tv.
All rise.
Judy enters.
Be seated, everybody.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge.
How are you, Kevin?
Case number 2015, Moss versus Jury.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Moss, prior to leasing an apartment with the defendant, had you known each other?
Sort of.
Tell me a sort of.
So we met one time about a year prior. We have mutual friends, one of which had asked me to get ordained to marry her and her husband. So I flew in town to do that, and Nadine was there at their house when I flew in. We saw each other for a few minutes, and that's actually the only time we've ever met in person.
And there came a time when you were looking for an apartment where?
I was looking for an apartment in the Salt Lake area.
And where had you been living?
In Seattle.
And where were you living, Miss Jury?
In Salt Lake City.
You were looking to move?
Yes.
So other than that one-time meeting when you were officiating at a mutual friend's wedding you hadn't met before, but somebody suggested that you were looking for an apartment, you were looking for a new apartment, and perhaps you could rent an apartment together.
Yes, that's
fair statement.
In fact.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in what month and year did that happen?
It would have been in October of 2020 that this arrangement sort of came to be like, hey, maybe you should see if Nadine...
Okay, but you did, in fact, sign a lease together. Who found the apartment?
Nadine did.
You did. Prior to signing the lease, Mr. Moss, had you seen the apartment?
No.
No is the answer. Did you ever see the apartment, other than videos or photographs of it?
No, I never saw
Prior to signing the lease?
Correct.
Also correct?
Correct.
On what date was the lease signed?
On the 7th of November of 2020.
The rent on the apartment was how much?
It was $585 a month each.
$1,170, Your Honor.
So $585 per month each. You both signed it on the same day. Did you move in?
I did.
On what date?
November 8th.
And you were still in Seattle?
Correct.
Did you ever move into the apartment?
Never.
Okay, and that is also correct?
Correct.
Because for whatever reason you decided to stay in Seattle?
Correct.
Is that work-related or socially?
Social.
And then you contacted her and told her that you weren't intending to move in?
Correct.
But that you would continue to pay your half of the rent. Is that also correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And you were making a direct deposit to the account to pay the rent?
Yeah, it was an automatic payment from my account to the rental.
To the rental office?
Yes, to the rental office.
Then you came to find that Miss Jury had stopped paying her portion of the rent. When did you stop making payments on your portion of the rent?
In January.
So you paid either full or partial for November because you moved in on the 8th, and you paid December's rent.
Correct.
And you stopped paying rent in January. Why?
I lost my job in December of 2020.
So I'm going to outline now what this case is about.
Yes.
Mr. Moss continued paying his half of the rent until you found a roommate.
Correct.
And you found a roommate when?
I believe I found him in February, and he moved in the month of March and started paying his half of the rent.
So you didn't pay rent January or February,
Correct.
2 months.
Correct.
And you had no work.
Correct.
When you found out that the rent wasn't being paid, according to you, in order to not impact your credit, you spoke to her. She said, I don't have a job. You said, I can help you out. I'll send you money. Mm-hmm. Is that generally what happened? Then I'll get into...
That's generally what happened, but there is a little more detail to it.
I'm going to let you get to the details.
All right.
And you want that money back. The money that you advanced her in her time of need, which was how much in total?
The total is $3,360. She did at some point pay me $300 back, so the amount I am seeking is $3,060.
Okay. Are those figures accurate?
Yes.
And he gave you that money, not because you were good friends, because you were a relative. He had met you one time.
Right.
And he had, in fact, said to you, I will continue to pay my rent, even though I know you from hole in the wall. I will continue because I signed this lease until you find someone to get me off the lease.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And your defense, it seems to me, to this action is that he was really trying to scam the government by depleting his bank account so he could collect food stamps or whatever.
No.
And as a result of that, because he wasn't being honest with the government, you shouldn't have to pay him back. I just want to know if that's what I'm reading correctly.
There was never an agreement
No.
to pay back.
That's a different story. I'm going to read this over because, you know, I'm getting elderly, and I may not have recalled exactly what you said in your answer.
Judy looks down at a document.
It doesn't say that here. It says several months later, it's after you found a new roommate, Emmett randomly reached out to me saying that I owed him money and demanded that I take out a personal loan to pay it. I refused. Emmett has some nerve. Not only did he break the lease, well, what difference does that make to you? He still was paying his half of the rent. So now you had a whole apartment by yourself and he was paying the rent, right? So why does he have some nerve? But he took advantage of me and used me to scam the system. So that's what I understand your defense is.
It is. I have video evidence, Your Honor.
Video of what?
Of Emmett.
Of Emmett what?
Of Emmett explaining why he was trying to get on assistance and how he was like, it's fine for you to pay rent with this money because I'm trying to empty my bank account so that I can get on food stamps.
It is true.
Okay, just a second. Just a second. Let's say that's true. He's going. I'm just trying to. Shh.
Caption coming up.
I furnished the down payment for the car.
Okay, so you bought 2 cars.
No, just one. I personally didn't have a vehicle at the time.
Oh, you know, I'm not believing you, sir. I'm really not buying this whole story.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Emmett and Nadine.
Emmett Moss claims his former friend, Nadine Drury, owes for unpaid loans. Nadine says Emmett broke the lease they were both on.
I'm just trying to get your mindset. You know, I hate people who scam the system. But you got this money from him. And your defense is that he was trying to scam somebody else, so you shouldn't really have to pay him back, even though it was his money.
It was his money.
It was his money that he took out of his bank and gave to you.
Right.
For no reason.
That I never agreed to pay back for a lease that he was legally on. He's responsible for that rent money no matter what.
You mean so you get to live there free?
No,
Well, just a second. So you get to live there free. If he paid for it for the months that you didn't, you got to live there free. He wasn't even living there. It's not as if he was living there and you didn't get to live there free. You lived there alone. And he was paying the rent.
Yes.
Well, why do you think you're not responsible for that once you get back on your feet?
We never talked about a repayment.
No.
That's not.
Okay. Now,
we definitely talked about repayment.
Now, I want you to explain to me and be very careful because, you know, I've been in this system a very long time. So I know about social services and I know about the system and I know about welfare and I know about food stamps. I know all about that. So you contact her.
Yes.
And she tells you she lost her job.
Yes.
Let's pick it up from there.
Okay. So I found out through the payment portal that she hadn't paid rent.
Yeah, we're past that.
Okay.
We're
I
past
contacted
that.
her about that. Well, there was.
Don't look up.
Apologies. I sent her money that night.
No. You contacted the portal, and then you had to have had a conversation with her.
Right.
If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. Let's start with you contacted the portal, and you found out she hadn't been paying her rent. That was in January.
Correct. January the 2nd.
And January, she hadn't paid rent, and you called her, and she said to you...
She said to me that she didn't have money to pay, which I was aware of because she had previously told me that she I was aware that she had lost her job.
Just a second. How did you become aware that she had lost her job?
Because we were friendly with each other. We were talking several times a week via Facebook Messenger.
Fine. You knew that she lost her job.
Yes.
And I assume you knew if she lost her job, and you were speaking several times a week. Let's be very careful. This isn't just calling the pay portal and finding out that this stranger who you met once wasn't paying her rent. You were speaking, and you knew that she had fallen on difficult times. And?
I did. I didn't...
Don't go up here. Right here.
I didn't know that she wasn't going to pay rent on time.
No, just a second. You didn't know what?
On the 2nd was when I found out that the rent hadn't been paid.
On the 2nd of January.
The 2nd of January.
Just look at me. On the 2nd of January, you found out the rent hadn't been paid. What did you do?
So I called Nadine to ask about it, and She told me that she didn't have the money. And so I said, okay, I have these extra funds because I, at the time, was also unemployed. I had been taking payments, apologies, unemployment payments and then the COVID payments.
And what?
The extra payments for COVID on top of unemployment because this was 2020.
Welcome to Inflation 101.
Right. So all of my payments had been late and had come in a lump sum. So that is why I had
Okay.
extra
So your
money.
unemployment and your COVID funds came in one lump sum.
Correct.
And I want you to think very, very carefully. And you're living where, sir?
Seattle.
With whom?
At the time, I was seeking a roommate.
No. Where were you living?
So I was living in Seattle.
In Seattle with whom?
No one.
By yourself?
Yes. Technically, someone was paying rent because they had moved out.
You know, you're looking up at the sky.
Sorry.
Don't look up at the sky. So somebody had moved out of their apartment.
Yeah.
Which had been prepaid in rent.
Yes.
So you were living there rent-free.
No. This was my apartment that I lived in for 3 years. And someone else had moved in and then moved out. And they broke the lease, not me.
They broke the lease, but they paid the rent.
Correct. They paid their half. I was still paying my half of rent. I never defaulted on my rental payments in Seattle ever.
And they were still paying theirs?
Yes, so we were both each paying our respective parts of the rent. And I was paying rent in Utah.
And you were paying rent where the defendant was living. Okay. So I want you to think very carefully. When you got your unemployment and your extra COVID money in a lump sum, how much did you get?
What?
No, don't look over there. You know exactly how much you got.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it. Just give me a number.
$10,000.
Well, that should last you for a little bit. And you got $10,000 on what date?
I don't remember.
Month?
It would have been in November.
Okay, so now she's run out of funds, and you say to her, go ahead.
By the time we get to January, I do not have $10,000. I have much less because of other circumstances.
Like what?
Like needing to purchase a car for the girlfriend that I stayed in town.
A car?
Yes.
And what else?
Rental payments. That's it. Nothing.
You bought your girlfriend a car?
I did. Her car that she had was a beater, and
I
it
don't
was
care.
unsafe.
I don't care. What about your car?
I did use a down. I furnished the down payment for the car.
Okay, so you bought 2 cars?
No, just one.
I
personally didn't have a vehicle at the time.
Oh, you know, I'm not believing you, sir. I'm really not buying this whole story. You're living by yourself with a roommate. The roommate moves out. Your girlfriend had a terrible car. You don't live with the girlfriend.
Don't.
But you bought her a car. You didn't have a car, but you bought her a car.
I had, if we need to back it up, I had given up my car in a bankruptcy earlier in the year because of...
In whose bankruptcy?
My bankruptcy.
Your bankruptcy.
That is why I didn't have a car.
Getting better all the time. Okie dokie.
It was an interesting year.
That doesn't mean you don't owe money. It just means I have to know the characters that I'm dealing with.
I understand, Your Honor.
Okay.
Caption coming up.
While you were going to the program, which you said it was in person, were you getting any government assistance that was connected to this trade school? That's either a yes or a no.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Emmett and Nadine.
Emmett Moss has accused his former friend, Nadine Drury, of refusing to pay back loans. Nadine claims she was used by Emmett to scam the government.
So now you've got much less money from the $10,000. You bought your girlfriend a car, you had to pay her rent, you paid your own rent, you had other things from bankruptcies that you had before, so you have a little bit of money left in the bank.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So
don't look over there, right here. No, look,
that evening of the 2nd, I paid Nadine a total of $710, enough to cover the rent of $585, any fees it would cost her to go and withdraw that money from the bank, and she also asked for extra money for groceries.
Just a second. You acknowledge a $3,000 amount of money that he gave you. Am I right?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
You say that
That
that's correct.
includes the money that he's saying that he spent on rent, that he gave me for rent, and he's also asking for his deposit.
I am
for the,
asking for my
The
deposit.
deposit for the apartment back.
Okay, well, he's entitled to that. You have a new roommate who I'm sure you got a deposit from.
She chose to not
And if you didn't,
collect a deposit from
what?
the roommate.
Well, that's her problem because
I
she's
agree.
going to get the deposit back.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's reasonable. She's going to get the deposit back when she leaves. When you leave, if you leave the place in good condition, he was never living there, so if you don't leave it in good condition, then it's on you. I want to know about this video that she wants me to look at, where you tell her some sort of a scheme you have to get more money from the government.
It wasn't a scheme.
Why don't you tell me about it? So far, we got $10,000 that was supposed to last you for 6 months, and you blew it on a coffee your girlfriend. And so you may not call it a scheme. I want you to tell me why you had to have a zero bank account.
I didn't have to have a zero bank account.
A more limited access to money. What were you applying for, sir?
So
Not so up here, so here.
Okay. I was applying for a program to go into the trades. So it was like a work study program, like electrician, plumber, that sort of thing. And again, I didn't have a job, and unemployment had completely stopped. And as far
How many years did you collect unemployment?
It was less than 1 year.
How many years had you worked?
How many years have I worked?
Yeah.
I've been working since I was 16. So
Well,
it'd
I'm
been
surprised
14.
the unemployment totally ran out because they kept extending unemployment. People were on unemployment for years during COVID.
When they cut me off December of 2020, they did not reestablish my claim. I kept applying and it was denied. So I don't know why, but it was.
What kind of work do you do now?
I work for customer service.
Okay. And the trade school that you wanted to go to was to prepare you for what?
To be an electrician was what I wanted to do.
An electrician?
Yes.
And was this an online program?
No, this was in person.
Where?
It was in Seattle.
And how much did they give you to go to that program?
They didn't give me money to go to the program, but the program was free of charge.
Okay. So the government paid the tuition?
I believe that
Well, somebody pays the tuition, sir.
Yeah.
So the government pays the tuition. And while you were going to the program, which you said it was in person, how were you supporting yourself?
So,
were you getting any government assistance that was connected to this trade school? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes,
Yes.
I applied for food stamps and got food stamps. That is what I got.
So you applied for some sort of assistance while you were going to this trade school, which you're not practicing now, and you're not an electrician.
That is correct.
And in order to apply for food stamps, you have to have a certain amount of money is the maximum you can have in your bank.
That is correct.
Okay. So that's the fraud you're talking about. That's why he gave you the money.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I mean,
just a second.
I also gave her the money because she was going to need the money for rent. Like, it was one of those situations where it was mutually beneficial for me to give her the money, but it wasn't.
You're looking up at the sky. I understand what happened.
So I wasn't going to have any way to support myself. I needed something to. The $2,000 was going to cover the rent for my place and my place in Seattle and my place in Utah, and then I wasn't going to have anything left.
I understand that it became mutually beneficial for you to advance her the money so that your bank account would have less in it so that you could receive assistance and also get free tuition at a trade school that you didn't use.
My intention was to use it, and I changed my decision later.
Do you think the trade school charged the government once you enrolled in it?
Yes.
Yes, of course they did. And you know how much the tuition was in the trade school? Yes, you have to know. No, it was free to you, but it wasn't free to the government.
Right,
The government pays.
$1,500 was what I was made to understand.
Baloney. You people really somehow deserve each other, but you owe him $3,000. Madam, judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I'm a little bit shocked to be made out as a government scammer.
I mean, I lost my job and I wasn't able, and he bailed on the lease that he signed.
Because that wasn't ever my intentions.
I mean, I was alone. I had lost my job. I just didn't have any support.
Definitely careful about getting money from the government.
Just glad it's done. Glad I don't ever have to see him again.
Haven't had to do that since this whole situation, and I intend to keep it that way.
Sarah and Judy.
You know, it's so unfortunate because the plaintiff looked like an intelligent enough man, able-bodied, seemingly, and he spent a lot of time effort, brain power, into bankruptcy proceedings, trade schools that would be paid for by the government, applying for food stamps, knowing what the threshold for food stamps is so that he had to get rid of a certain amount of money. That seems like a lot of time and effort that could have been better spent gaining legitimate employment or skills at a trade school legitimately. And it's just unfortunate that some people decide to take the path that I view as more difficult in searching for ways to get free money.
Really unsatisfying.
Yeah.
If you think about it, unsatisfying.
Maybe going forward, he'll take a different path.
Maybe, I doubt it.
Title: Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. Is suing salesman Eric West for deceptively selling her skincare products she never wanted.
You know, I'm not sure she's entitled to a refund on all the products that she bought. I'm not thoroughly convinced yet that this was a situation where she was held against her will. But I've always been fascinated by these stores that want me to pop in and they give me a little white plastic thing and they stand outside, try this product. And, you know, you pass by and you say, no, thank you, I'm not interested. No, you're beautiful, you know, this can take away the wrinkles in your face. I say, I make my money with my wrinkles in my face. Right? And I don't want to take them away, I want them to stay. So that's what it is. So I've always been fascinated as to the business aspect of it. And I digress for a moment because there was some scam company that was all over the internet that said I had created a skin line years ago. Couldn't find them. And they had all kinds of accolades, and it looked like it was sold through major companies online and endorsed. They had pictures all over. It was a scam. And they've done the same thing to numerous other people. And it's all scam. And you can't find them because they're on telephone banks someplace, here and here. And as soon as the federal authorities get to one, they close down one and they go someplace else, sometimes offshore. So we were unable to find them. So all you could do is get on the horn and say to people, I don't own a skincare line. I've never endorsed a skincare line. Don't buy products that say that they're mine. So I've always wanted to know about these guys who stand in front and try to get you into the store with a little packet of freebies. So now it's your joint business?
Yes.
How much did you put up?
I honestly, I can't recall.
You can't recall how much money you put up? You've only been there 3 years.
I know, I don't remember how much the initial investment was.
Well, give me an idea. Was it $5,000, $500?
A lot more than that.
Well, if it's a lot more than that, you want to tell me how much your contribution was.
Couple $100,000.
It was a couple of $100,000. That was your contribution to the store.
Mm-hmm.
Is not an answer.
Yes, Your Honor.
Where did you get the $200,000 from?
I worked for it.
For whom?
I worked different jobs.
How old are you?
37.
And you had $200,000. You said a couple of $100,000. That's two. You had $200,000 so that you could invest that. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yes. And before having a skin business, I had a grocery store on the XL Mobile campus in Spring, Texas.
Okay.
We generated some revenue, and so I thought to open a spa and do products, sell products, and go that route. And I really do pride myself in integrity. I literally, every client that walks in, and I'm not just saying that.
So if you pride yourself in integrity, and within a few days of being in your store and selling this lady who had absolutely no intention of going shopping that day, an $8,000 beauty wand that's going to make her look like she's 30, she says, listen, I made a big mistake. I don't want this product. I want to bring it back. Let's say I keep the creams, but this was $8,000, and I don't have that. Why don't you take it back?
Your Honor.
That's a question, Mr. West. If you pride yourself on integrity.
I'm explaining. She came back way past the allotted time.
What's the allotted time?
We have a 14-day in-store exchange only for in-store credit policy when you purchase a product. She told me that she was using her husband's credit card. Now I'm coming to find out that it's her roommate or guy that she's living with. I don't know the whole story, but I can tell you that the whole interaction with her was extremely professional. There was no aggression.
I just asked you why. Now you have a lady who I've met, actually.
Yes.
Just here. And she gets home and she said, my God, what did I do? How did I get this? A lot of fast talking here and a lot going on, and now I'm walking out with almost $10,000 worth of product. And I was going to buy a lipstick. And she says to you, I want to return this wand thing whatever it is, for $8,000. And if what you're saying is you run a reputable business and you're busy and you've had enough money to put down $200,000 in this business, by the way, you do file taxes every year, don't you? Yeah. When was the last time you filed income tax returns? What year?
This year.
How much did you earn?
$173,000.
From this business?
From different businesses, but yes.
Are you in this location all the time?
Yes, typically in that location, yes.
When you're typically not in that location, where are you?
Florida.
Where?
Miami.
What do you do in Miami?
What most people do, sit on the beach.
Well, how often do you work?
Pretty much almost every month. And I take my weekends and I'll fly and spend 3 days and then work.
In Miami?
Yeah.
You go from California to Miami. Great.
Caption, coming up.
And she paid how much for all of that stuff?
Nothing. She only bought one eye cream. That was the initial.
Just a second. How much was the eye cream?
It was $600, I believe.
I have never, ever in my life spent $600 on eye cream.
Eric smirks. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Linda and Eric.
Defendant Eric West claims the plaintiff, Linda Bernadeschi, purchased products with a no-refund policy. Linda felt she could not leave unless she bought the items.
So you still haven't answered my question. She comes into you within a relatively short period of time after she purchased all this product. She said, I don't have the money. I have to return this piece of equipment. And you said
that she, oh, sorry, I apologize. She said that she found the products cheaper online a week and a half to 2 weeks later. She was upset.
Just a second. Did you call and say you found the products cheaper online?
Yes, but it wasn't 2 weeks later.
How much later?
A week at the most.
Oh, which products did you find cheaper?
The wand. I couldn't find the other products at all.
Okay, but you said you found the wand cheaper. Is that what you told him?
Yes.
Now, you looked for the wand. You had to go on, like Sarah does, on the machine.
Right.
And look for it. And now I have to assume, Ms. Bernadeschi, I have to assume that if you went online to look at it, you tried it, because that makes sense. I want you to be very careful with your answer and not give me an answer that you think is going to help your case. But if I took the trouble to go online to try to find something, it would mean because I liked the product, so I would have tried it. No. Did you use the wand?
No, I have not. It's still in its original packaging. There's no way it could be opened and sealed back up. There's no way. I looked online because I wanted to see how much I got ripped off for.
Okay, and when you went online, how much did you find it for?
$597, I believe.
The same thing? Can I see what you found for $597?
Kind of.
Do you know what she's talking about?
I know that when you go and you buy a Cartier ring from Cartier, you can get it online for a cheaper price.
Listen to me, sir. It's not what I'm talking about.
Okay, sorry. My apologies.
Mr. West.
I see what she's talking about. It's a very similar looking device listed for $575 from a different store. Yeah.
Sarah shows her laptop to Judy.
This is the initial one that I showed you for that amount. That's what the defendant handed us a copy of. This, for this price, is the same. I just copied and pasted the name of the machine into Google, and this came up. So it looks a little bit different, but same concept.
Would you go back to the other one, please, Sarah, the first one? And I want you to show me the comments that gave it a 5-star rating. 2 reviews.
Yeah, there.
I just want to look at it.
Looks like one from 2019.
Okay, let me see the next one, please.
And now that I'm reading it, this looks as if it's for a different device. This says electrobionic.
So the review
that's listed here looks to be for a different device.
A different product.
Yeah.
Okay. No, she found it. Okay. She found it for me.
Sorry.
She found it for me, different color, whatever. Anyway, so you called him about a week later.
Yes.
You called him about a week later and said, I found it cheaper.
Yes.
And what did he say to you?
He said, well, I can't give you a refund. He said that would have to be up to corporate. So I'll have to get a hold of them and get back with you. Well, he never did.
Taking what you say is true, you called him a week later and said, I found this very expensive product. The other thing were facial creams and potions and lotions, whatever. I'm not so concerned about those. I'm concerned about this $8,000 item. So you called and said to him, with regard to the $8,000 item, I found it cheaper.
I don't think I told him that, no.
Okay, now let me read the police report.
Judy reviews a document.
Okay, have you seen the police report, sir?
No, I have not.
Okay, so this is a police report by an officer who you don't know and doesn't know you. What happened was, on the 8th of March, he received a dispatch to go to a location because the plaintiff had complained that she felt on the 21st of February that she couldn't leave the store, and she spent over $9,000 at the store. So he went to see her because the case was a false imprisonment case. And it said, while officer was en route, he asked his dispatch if there was any history involving your location. And it said there were 2 previous incidents involving your store. You're aware of that?
Yes, Your
Yes. And he read the papers of the events. There were 2 different complaints, 2 different complainants that were very similar that were reported by this plaintiff. Said that the other 2 victims were lured into the store and they felt as if they were not able to leave until they purchased products. One of the reports stated that the victim had spent over $100,000 on recurring charges and products that she didn't want. So, in a very small area, there's a little history there. I'm reading you what the complaints are, sir. Do you understand?
Absolutely.
Okay, let me finish.
She continues reading.
Okay, so the next day, on February 22nd, you said you wanted a refund for the device. This is what you say, not for the creams, not for anything else, just for the device.
Yes.
Okay.
Your Honor, she didn't pay for the creams. She paid for 1 cream out of all the creams that she got.
Whatever.
Okay.
But that's not where you made your money.
No, I know, it's on the machine.
That's not where you made your money, on the lotions and potions. Okay, suspect 2, that was you, told he was unable to give her a refund and would have to be done by corporate. Were you the one who told her that?
I spoke to her.
That's
No, I
either a
did not
yes or
say
a no.
that. No, I did not say that.
Tell me what you said.
I told her that she signed a no refunds agreement, and she understood that she purchased the sale, that it was a final sale because she got what she received.
What did she receive?
She received 6 months worth of services that she did not want, which were complimentary. She also received a full skin regimen, day cream, night cream, cleanser, toner, eye serum, eye cream, peeling gel.
And she paid how much for all of that stuff?
Nothing. She only bought 1 eye cream. That was the initial.
Just a second. How much was the eye cream?
It was $600, I believe.
Caption coming up.
Do you still run that place when you're not sunning in Miami?
No, and those are the only.
Just a second. It takes an awful lot for somebody who feels as if they've been taken advantage of to actually go to the police and said, I was duped by this dope, or a dope that was duped by this dope.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Linda and Eric.
Defendant Eric West claims the plaintiff, Linda Bernadeschi, purchased products with a no refund policy. Linda felt she could not leave unless she bought the items.
The eye cream was $600. Okay. All right. Mr. West, I'm not going to waste any more time with this case. You're going to get your $8,000 back when Mr. West gets back his sealed wand. Do you understand?
Yes.
If it's been opened.
It hasn't.
If it's been opened, it belongs to you. Do you understand?
Yes.
If it's been opened and it came in a sealed package, it belongs to you. As soon as Mr. West receives, you're still in the same location? Are you still in the same location? That's either a yes or a no.
I'm not in the location, no.
What?
There's another operator there, but just for the record, I believe that we opened the device because she wanted to know how to use it at the store.
Just a second.
Okay.
So then you have no problem, sir. Do you understand?
Yes.
Unless she can return the item to you sealed, because she says it's sealed, and there's no way that it could have been opened. That's what she told me. If she opened it, that means she tried it. And if she tried it, it belongs to you. Do you understand?
Yes.
So within 5 days, he gets the product back. What?
I just want to show you this final sale
Just a
agreement
second.
that she wrote.
I understand what it says, sir. I understand what it says. I also understand that your little company had 2 prior complaints from that location. And it takes an awful lot for somebody who feels as if they've been taken advantage of to actually go to the police. Most people just write it off and said, I was being a real schlemiel and I was duped by this dope, or a dope that was duped by this dope. And just say,
Your Honor,
I'm going to eat it. What I'm telling you, sir, is I buy an awful lot of junk for my face. That's what old people do. They buy lotions and potions and stuff. I even steal some of hers. And I have plenty of dough. I have never, ever in my life spent $600 on eye cream. Ever. And so if she spent $600 on eye cream, that means she could have bathed in all the other products and you still would have made money. She is going to get her money back for this worthless piece of accessory, because it's worthless to her because she hasn't used it and she doesn't want it. And she's going to get it back from you when she produces the sealed package. That's it. And you're her witness?
Yes.
Do you live close by to this shop?
Yes.
Do you still run that place when you're not sunning in Miami?
No, and those are the only...
Just a second. The answer is no. What happened to that business at that location?
There's another operator coming in, and our contract ended recently. So there's another company coming in to run it.
Sounds like such a Ponzi scheme. The whole thing sounds like such a Ponzi scheme.
No, it's called COVID.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $8,000 when she produces the sealed item. Thank you very much. We're done here.
This court is adjourned.
Eric, then Linda.
This woman clearly had a bad episode of buyer's remorse, was emotionally unstable, used somebody else's credit cards that claims to be her husband, and God only knows what other kind of schemes she's trying to pull.
Well, I think the judge made a very sound decision because the guy is a total fraud.
She actually took advantage of me and took my time for 3.5, almost 4 hours, asking me, what is this? How does this work? What is this? How does that work? And I literally used all these products that she purchased and got to see results from that she was happy with when she left.
Absolutely manipulated me, went out of his way to manipulate me.
Well, she opened it in the store, so if she does return it, she'll have to seal it again with some kind of plastic sealer that they use like for those old VHS tapes when they used to seal them after you watched them from Hollywood Video.
Beware, because there's a lot of frauds out there.
I stand by my products.
The product is intact.
Sarah and Judy.
For once in my life, I am so glad that when I'm walking on the street, and we've encountered these people in our walks just around, like you said, around our neighborhood, for my resting bitch face. Because never once have they looked at me and said, she looks like an easy target for us to pull into the store. Not once.
Would you give me an example of
Just, I think living in New York City as a woman alone, taking the subway for 3 years.
I want you to look at me.
No, I can't recreate it. You know it when you see it. You know it when you see it. I'm sure it's on one of our episodes. But I just am so disgusted with people like that know exactly what they're doing. He suns himself in Miami on the weekends, all on the backs of these poor older people who feel pressured, and maybe like she was saying, she lives with someone who's a recluse, who I'm sure she doesn't speak to that many people, and that's the whole scam. And I just feel so terrible that this guy takes pride in his business that is scamming people.
It looks like a little bit of a shady business that he went into for $200,000, and now somebody else took it over.
And not anyone with a last name.
Yeah,
There's
right.
never anyone with a last name involved in these things.
People have to be careful. You know, in the law, caveat emptor, let a buyer beware. That's okay. But this over-aggressive salesmanship reminds me, Sarah, of something that the Legal Aid Society, who were the defense team in family court, would argue in a closing statement in a robbery case to me. They would say to me, it's not a robbery. He was aggressively panhandling. That's what it was. It wasn't a robbery. It was an aggressive panhandle. This is just aggressive salesmanship, is what he's saying. Well, the line crosses between aggressive salesmanship and and what amounts to, at least in her case, and the case of at least 2 other people who went into that store, feeling that they were uncomfortable about leaving unless they purchased something. You know, you and I are tough birds. We would, you say, well, we're leaving. Oh, really? We're not leaving until we buy. Yeah, right. But some people can't do that. That's not in their character. Anyway, if somebody puts them out of business, another business will just pop up. Yeah. Because as, I don't know, was it W.C. Fields said, there's a sucker born every minute. I'm not exactly sure who said it, but somebody will tell me.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. Susie Canales is suing her nephew, Noah Tiarina, for the cost of a Toyota 4Runner.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge.
Thank you.
Case 2160, Canales versus Tiarina.
Thank you.
Judy turns to Susie.
Ms. Canales, is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
And his name is Chris?
Yes.
Okay. This case is about a truck.
Toyota 4Runner, yes, ma'am.
That was titled in your name, about 21, 22 years old, but was in the possession of your son, Chris.
Yes, ma'am.
And then Chris went to jail.
Yes.
And your great-nephew moved into that house.
Yes, ma'am, correct.
And you moved into that house with your wife, girlfriend?
Fiance.
Fiance.
Yes,
when are you getting married?
So we're waiting on our second daughter in February, so after February.
Okay, well, that's not the way we usually did it 100 years ago in the Stone Age, but I understand that that's the way a lot of people do it these days. Anyway, you moved on to the property. When you moved on to the property, in addition to some other things, there was this truck. When did you give your son the truck? In what year?
It's always been his truck, but I titled it over to him in 2021.
Okay, so you signed over a title to him.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's not your truck anymore. So what are you doing here, suing for it?
He was never able to go and transfer the title or go and register it, so...
Because there was not one.
If you say that again, it won't be good for you. We don't shout out here. I run a very organized shop. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Okay, so you acknowledge that it's always been his truck. Did you buy it new?
I bought it used for
When?
graduation in 2005.
What's the value of it? Just
between 3,000 to 5,000, but that's based on 100,000 miles and good condition. So
okay. Chris, stand up, please. On what date did you go to jail?
April 20th, 2022.
How long were you there?
Till July 11th.
What were you there for?
Drug charge.
Is that still pending?
No, ma'am.
When you were arrested or when you were incarcerated, was there an engine in this truck? Be very careful in your answer. Was the truck running?
Yes, ma'am.
How many miles did the truck have on it?
Roughly 220,000.
And you were in the house and you disposed of the truck?
Amongst other things, yes, ma'am.
All we're talking about here is the truck.
Okay.
On what date did you dispose of the truck?
In August, whenever me and Susie made a verbal agreement for me to have ownership of the truck because it was no longer running.
How did you dispose of it?
It was towed away to a junk shop and used for parts.
You have any paperwork?
I have paperwork for the towing.
Great, I'll see the picture and I'll see the towing receipt. That tells you that it wasn't working.
with the new mileage, about 1,900 to 4,000 would be the range. Again, for good condition.
Judy reviews a document.
Okay, and this is an invoice for $75, junked vehicle towed, no keys, no title, doesn't run, wrecked. Kevin, show this to Chris.
Kevin hands the document to Chris.
So that's what you're suing for. You're suing for the value of the truck because it's been junked, so you want $5,000. The truck, at best, if it were running, would be $1,900. According to this, it wasn't running. Now, Mr. Tiarina?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to tell me the conversation you had with your aunt. Her son was now out of jail because if this happened in August, you got out of jail July 11th.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you go?
I went to my mother's house.
And that was before the truck was towed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Chris, did your cousin tell you that the truck wasn't running?
No, ma'am.
When did you find out that the truck wasn't running?
I was always assuming that it was running. I did attempt to contact him, and he told me to come pick up the truck. And I told him I was on my way. I believe it was on the July 15th. We have the text messages here.
I'd like to see them.
Chris hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews an image of a text message.
Okay, so this all sounds very civilized.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Chris, when did it become uncivilized?
It really never became uncivilized. We just, whenever I went to go get it that day, I think something happened and... Yeah.
I'm not following you.
Okay.
You're all over the place. This all sounds very civilized. He's living in the house now. You were not.
Right.
Some of your stuff was still there.
Correct.
You know each other a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He said, some stuff I'll throw away. You said, okay, but the other stuff I've got in the house, come by and pick it up. Okay.
Yes.
At that time, he had to have told you that the truck was not running because he said the truck is at the exact same spot where you parked it.
Right. Well, I just assumed they didn't have the key because a lot of my belongings got thrown away.
Well, they didn't have the key because the tow people said that there was no key.
Right. That's just why I assumed the truck was still in the same spot.
Okay. Now you find out that the truck is not running, right? Because you went there to pick up some of your stuff. Come on.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and that was in July because you said you were coming over July 15th.
Yes, ma'am.
So you came to his house where your truck was sitting.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you find out about the truck?
The truck was still in the same spot and it wasn't running.
Same spot.
Same spot.
Did anybody prevent you from taking the truck when you came?
No, ma'am.
Then why didn't you take it?
Just simply for the key. I didn't have the key to turn it on.
Just a second. April, May, June, and July. So the car had not been touched in 4 months. That's what you're telling me, while you were incarcerated. And if you just said to me the car was in the same spot from the time you left now, and there was no key, so you had no idea whether the truck was running or not, right?
Well, I just assumed that it wasn't running because of the key, the no key.
If you were that interested, you would have found out. You would have called a mechanic, they would have come, they would have jump-started the truck, and somebody would have made you a new key. Then you could have taken the truck. He doesn't have to keep your truck on his property.
Well, first of all, my family member said that they were evicted. They had not been evicted.
What evicted? What does that have to do with the truck?
At the time, Your Honor, he, of course, was incarcerated.
No, he wasn't incarcerated. He wasn't incarcerated when you gave him the truck.
No, he was not.
No, I see. I have the dates here that you told me. He wasn't incarcerated. He wasn't incarcerated for a year, and he didn't transfer the title.
I asked my family member if I was able to go into the house and remove all his items and look for the key and the title so I can have the vehicle removed, and everything was thrown out of the house. So when he came to pick it up, it was gone the next day.
Noah grins. Caption coming up.
I have text messages right here saying that she doesn't like being lied to and she's gonna go the court route. I had an officer knock on my door at 8 o'clock in the morning and serve me papers, try to give me a Grand Theft Auto charge and have a felony on my name.
Can I see the text message that she sent to you afterwards?
Later.
He says you didn't make any payments.
I never said I was gonna pay him that back.
Well, you told me that you asked him if you could borrow some money. That's
A
what you
couple
said.
times I asked to borrow money, but the entirety of that, all that, like I didn't say I was gonna pay that back. And he should know he was just being nice.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Susie, Chris, and Noah.
Susie Canales claims her nephew, Noah Tiarina, owes for the cost of a Toyota 4Runner.
What I'm telling you is he was not prevented from taking the truck the day that he came, which was mid-July. He didn't dispose of the truck until August. That's what this receipt says. I think. No. This invoice was prepared 2 days ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, this doesn't say when they took the truck. How did you get this invoice 2 days ago? It was from August.
I got the invoice because I needed it for evidence, and the towing company that sent me that invoice gave me the incorrect day because they sent it to me on the day that they sent me the receipt.
Doesn't say the date it was towed. Junk vehicle towed. You have any email communication or text communication immediately after the vehicle was towed or before?
With her?
Yes.
I called her the day that it was towed because I have respect for my family member, and I said, I'm towing the truck. It needs to get off of my property today. And she said, Mijo, I feel like I should be compensated for the truck. How much do you want for the truck? She said she wanted $500. I told her that I could pay it in monthly increments.
Why would you want to buy a truck that was worthless?
Because I have respect for my family, and I hold family very close to me. And if she says that something's not right, I'm gonna make it right. And that's what I tried to do. I failed on that first month of I was supposed to give her $100. I did not pay the first $100. I have text messages right here saying that she doesn't like being lied to and she's gonna go the court route. I had an officer knock on my door at 8 o'clock in the morning and serve me papers, try to
Okay,
give
well,
me a
that's-
grand theft auto charge, and have a felony on my name.
Okay. Can I see the text message that she sent to you afterwards?
Noah hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy.
Did you recall, Ms. Canales, having a conversation with your nephew about $500 for the truck?
No, ma'am, I do not.
My witness does.
Shh. How was he supposed to pick up the truck when he just got out of jail the day before you had it towed? And I asked for permission to look for the keys and title, but everything was moved out of the garage. At that time, I was taking my mother to the hospital. But it's okay, I just got to go through the court process. Regardless, you're going to get your money, Aunt Susie. So it's clear that you had a discussion with him about money, because he says to you, in response to his statement, so I don't see anything here about $500, but he says, I'm going to get you your money. Well, you didn't say to him, what money are you talking about?
I just told him I was done.
You said, I'm tired of the back and forth, which leads me to believe that that's exactly what happened. Do you have any other documentation of this communication that you had with her? I mean, it's a useless piece of junk of a car anyway.
The only thing I have is a letter of me mailing her the money order. That letter that I mailed her, I have no idea where it is.
Well, I don't know where it is either, but that's a self-serving document. I don't care. But you acknowledge that you told her that you would pay her $500 for the car. She's the registered owner. Is that correct?
Correct.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. I believe you.
Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
Chris.
He knows he did us wrong, and he knows he's lying right now. This is the only reason why he's acting like that, and that's why the reason my mom is so upset.
It's sad that it had to end that way for a family member, because family is something that I hold very close to my heart, and I don't like to see it end that way.
He had free run of all of my belongings, and he ended up selling it.
But at the end of the day, it's my livelihood and my fiance's little livelihood that's at stake.
He knows what he did.
I did not take advantage of my own family. Never.
Yeah, it's tore us up a little bit.
It can't be put back together.
Judy and Sarah.
Troublesome. Tell you some of the troublesome things that I didn't even want to go into with them. He went to jail in April. His mother knew where the car was. She could have gone to get the car. She had 4 months.
Yeah.
Her son went to the house when he got out of jail in July.
And all he had to do was do the same thing the defendant had to do, call a tow truck, have it towed to your house.
Right.
Get an extra key made.
Right. And I thought that he was actually a pretty good nephew.
Yeah, I did too. He didn't have to pay for the car, but he felt for his aunt and the situation that she was in. And
well, he was just trying to be respectful and
Yes.
probably keep the peace.
Exactly.
Between everybody. Well, again, no good deed goes unpunished.
I was just about to say that.
Case 2123, Valenzuela versus Jenkins. All parties, please step forward.
Javon Valenzuela claims his former friend, Darian Jenkins, owes for unpaid loans and bail money from a false arrest.
Mr. Valenzuela, it is your claim that the defendant, who is a friend of yours, owes you for some small loans that you made to him.
Yes.
And then it is your claim that he had you falsely arrested.
Yes.
And you want damages for that. You've known him for a while, according to your complaint. You knew him, you were friendly with him, and then he moved out of state and then moved back. Where did you move to, sir?
To Colorado.
And you moved to Colorado from where?
From Texas.
And in Texas is where you knew the plaintiff?
Yes.
In what year did you move to Colorado?
2019.
And in what year did you move back to Texas?
This year, 2022.
And why did you move back?
Why did I move back?
You moved to Colorado for what?
My family was up there, yeah. And then my family went back to Texas.
Oh, so you moved with your family?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
Did you live with your family in Colorado?
No, we didn't all live together, no.
The reason you say you came back to Texas was because your family came back?
Yeah.
Did you have a job?
Yes, I did.
Where?
I worked from home.
What kind of work?
For a newspaper.
In Colorado?
Yes.
What did you do in Texas?
Whenever I moved back, I was still working from home, but they let me go. I got laid off.
When did you get laid off?
I would say June.
June of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
And what month did you move back to Texas?
Oh, I had already moved back in May.
When you moved back in May, where did you go to live?
I was living in hotels.
But there came a point when you had no money.
It got to a point.
When did it get to a point when you had no money?
Maybe July.
And when did you contact Mr. Valenzuela?
I'd say July.
You didn't contact him in May when you came back?
I just want to say that's a lie.
When did you contact him?
I mean, we talked while I lived in Colorado. You know, we always text each other, so.
Well, when you contacted him in July, what did you say to him?
I couldn't say exactly what I said, but.
Give me the gist of it.
Borrow some money, I guess.
Okay. And you needed it for living?
Right.
And what did he say to you?
He did sometimes if I asked him.
Okay. And how much did he give you?
Here and there, maybe 100, maybe 2 every.
No, altogether.
Altogether? Oh, I couldn't say how much altogether.
You couldn't say?
I couldn't say, maybe a few hundred.
Did he give you money for housing?
A couple times he did.
How much?
100 here, 100
Do you have
there.
a record of how much you gave him, sir?
I do.
Okay, because he's already said, and would you read that back to me, Whitney, please, about borrowing?
Said, let me borrow some money.
Right. Okay, let me borrow some money. So tell me how much money you let him borrow.
$1,200.
Show me.
Javon produces documents.
Okay, now tell me what that is that you're giving him, all those papers that you expect me to read.
These are screenshots of every time I sent him money.
Oh, can I see it, please? Okay, get ready, Sarah Rose.
Caption, coming up.
Anybody who came could see that your lip was bloody. You say he fell, must have fallen outside. You don't know how that happened. But if you both are alleging that there was a fight, police would look at you and say, well, he's injured. They wouldn't have arrested you unless you had a warrant, right?
Javon shakes his head. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Javon and Darian.
Javon Valenzuela is suing his former friend, Darian Jenkins, for unpaid loans and damages from an assault.
So every time you gave him money...
He agreed to pay me back.
No, he's already told me that he called you and asked if he could borrow some money, and you said yes, and he said, I don't know how much it was. So if he doesn't know how much it was, you have screenshots of it, and Sarah is going to add them all up. Okay.
Judy hands documents to Sarah.
Of all the money that you said that you borrowed from him, how much did you pay back?
120.
Good guess. Did he give you back $120?
No.
Did he give you back anything?
No.
Nothing ever?
No.
Okay. So while Sarah is adding that up, there came a point when you left the hotel. Is that right?
Yes.
And Mr. Valenzuela probably got tired of giving you money and said that you could stay in a spare room in his house.
For the most part, yes.
And you moved in August of 2022, the end of August.
Yes.
And then in September, you had a fight. I don't care what the fight was about. It became physical?
He was physical, yes.
No, I wasn't, Your Honor. No, I wasn't.
Let's say you had an argument that spilled out into the street, because this becomes very important, because there's the other charge is false arrest. And it was a false arrest, you claim, based on his statement to the police that you assaulted him.
Right.
Right. He says, yes, you had an argument, but you weren't arrested on his allegation that you assaulted him, but you were arrested and held on an outstanding warrant. When the police responded, they found that there was an outstanding warrant. So now I want you to tell me, in September of 2022, did you have an outstanding warrant? That's either a yes or a no.
Well, it was on a payment plan.
I don't care what it was. Did you have an outstanding warrant?
Yes.
And the outstanding warrant was for a what?
Traffic tickets.
What kind of traffic ticket?
I think I was speeding, and I didn't have my license either.
So speeding, driving without a license. What else? You have insurance?
I think it was insurance.
Not think. Speeding, driving without a license, and no insurance.
And no tags.
And no tags. And for that, you got fined.
Yes.
And you didn't pay the fine.
I was paying it.
Well, there wasn't a warrant outstanding because you were cooperating and paying the fines.
The county that I'm in, they said, the police officer said, it doesn't matter if you're on a payment plan. They'll arrest you if they want to.
Mr. Valenzuela, did you miss payments on your fine?
Yes.
Perfect. And so when the police responded to this kerfuffle that was out in the street, when they ran both your names, your name came up with an active warrant.
Yes.
Well, that's easy. So that you were arrested on the outstanding warrant.
I would have never been arrested, though, if he wouldn't have acted.
If he didn't call the police.
No, he didn't call the police.
Who did?
My neighbor did because the way he was acting.
So your neighbor called the police, but for the outstanding warrant, I don't know whether the police would have taken you into custody. You had an injured lip. They could see that your lip was bloody. You say he fell, must have fallen outside. You don't know how that happened. It's really not relevant to this case. But if I were the police and I showed up, you didn't have any visible injuries, right? No, you had a busted lip. If you both are alleging that there was a fight, police would look at you and say, well, he's injured. He's got a busted lip, got to sew it up. They wouldn't have arrested you unless you had a warrant, right?
Right.
Good. So that's not his fault that you had a warrant. It's not his fault.
Have that total. It's $2,727.56, and that's including some direct payments to Motel 6s and other housing accommodations.
Includes that?
Yes, in addition to direct payments to the defendant.
Great. He says you didn't make any payments. $27.27.
I mean, there's no way he expected me to pay. I never said I was going to pay him that back.
Well, you told me that you asked him if you could borrow some money. That's what you said.
A couple times I asked to borrow money, but the entirety of that, all that, like, I didn't say I was going to pay that back. And he should know he was just being nice.
He was being
And
nice.
Sometimes he offered.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
You have a job now?
Yes.
Okay, great. 27-27, judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Darian.
I think he was just mad overall, so he just picked something to get me back with.
Just like he said, he thought I was being nice. Why would you say you're gonna pay me back, but then not pay me back?
He was screaming, yeah, he was screaming, yeah, just screaming, cussing, like, embarrassing.
He was acting crazy, and because he was acting crazy, woke up the whole neighborhood.
Well, he was drunk, going crazy outside, running around the apartment complex, so she called the cops on him.
That's what made my neighbor call the cops, and that's why they came.
Oh, no, there's no friendship. It's gone. Yeah.
Don't have friends like that, but also don't bite the hand that feeds you. Nothing comes good out of it, so.
Sarah.
Just something funny from the receipts that I was looking at. Some of them say, you know, the price really big on Venmo or Cash App, and then it just says completed at the bottom. On some of them, though, you could see heart emojis that the defendant sent thanking him, basically acknowledging that he received the money payment, sent a red heart emoji, and some of them were at very odd hours of the night, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, some direct to Motel 6, some direct to other housing accommodations.
It's so interesting.
But I liked the receipts. I liked the
I never
paper trail.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
made it easy.
It's true. And because when people say I gave him cash, and
even with an ATM slip, you never really know if the cash transferred hands
but this actually makes our job much easier.
Yes, it does.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to are suing their former friends, Marina and David Quadra, for illegal eviction and property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judy.
Have a seat, everybody.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 2072, Burroughs versus Quadra.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. and Mrs. Quadra, you were living in a home, in a house?
Correct, a townhome.
That you didn't own. And for how long had you been renting that home?
We did not rent out the home.
How long, if you didn't own it, then you were renting it?
We rented it for 2 years, Your Honor.
It gets scarier if you have a fixed position in your head so that you're not listening to my questions. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did your lease start?
July of 2020.
And when was it to terminate?
It was terminated August 1st, 2022.
And it was terminated by an eviction?
Correct.
And you were evicted because the landlord said that you sublet the apartment to these people and their family?
Correct.
And they were people who you knew, both in the military?
Just him.
What do you do?
I'm a federal employee.
And you?
I'm active duty, ma'am.
But you knew each other from work?
Correct.
Where did you move in August?
National City, Your Honor.
How far is that from your prior residence?
It's about 30 miles south, Your Honor.
Are you in a home that you own or that you rent?
We are still renting.
How much are you paying in rent?
$21.50 a month.
You have a signed lease?
We do.
When did that lease start?
August 1st, 2022.
And why did you choose to live in National City?
It is closer to where he is stationed.
It is also the...
Don't speak.
Yes, Your Honor.
How much closer?
To his job.
To his job?
It went from a 30-minute drive to a 15-minute drive.
Okay, so that's better.
Correct.
You were evicted. You were served a notice of eviction on what date?
They let us know a month before August. They gave us a 30-day notice.
Now, Did the plaintiffs have any furniture in the home that you were evicted from?
Prior to us being evicted, yes.
Yes, prior to your being evicted. And what furniture did they have?
2 dressers and a bunk bed.
Anything else?
That's as far as furniture.
And what furniture did you have in there prior to being evicted?
A full living room.
And when did you move that out? On what date?
The 30th of July, 2 days before our moving date.
So you moved out all of your furniture?
Correct.
And how much were you paying in rent in the place from which you were evicted?
$25.95.
Oh, I didn't write that down. How much were you paying in the new place?
The place we are in now, $21.50.
So you're paying less rent?
Correct. It's substantially smaller.
And substantially closer to his place of employment?
Correct.
Good. Now, do you want to tell me your version of how they came to be living in your house?
We received a call one night. It was very late, 10 p.m. Robert was very upset, crying. He had nowhere to go.
He?
Correct. Robert had nowhere to go, and Kelly was asking for a divorce. He asked if he could crash on the couch. We have a toddler at home, so I asked him to sleep in our guest bedroom instead of the couch. He stayed that first original night, and the next day he needed to job hunt as he was jobless. We offered to watch his child. He looked for the job and he came home. He asked us if he could stay for a while in that guest bedroom until he got onto his feet with the job. He offered money to just help out with utilities and
How much?
$1,000.
$1,000 a month?
No, just $1,000. And our words, when he had asked, and we asked him, how long do you think it will take you to get on your feet? It was just a couple weeks.
Okay, so he was offering $1,000,
correct,
which was 40% of your rent, to stay for 2 weeks, to stay in your guest bedroom. Pretty decent. Did he give you the $1,000?
He did.
And he gave you the $1,000 on what date?
He gave us the $1,000 on May 29th.
And when did he start staying there?
He started staying with us May 21st.
Then what happened?
He stayed with us for about a week. Everything was okay. He job hunted. I helped with the child. Within this week, he...
Look at me.
I'm sorry. He confided in us that he wanted to work on his marriage with Kelly. He did not want the divorce. It was something that she had asked for. They wanted to work on it together and had asked if Kelly could come around to stay with him and the children and work on their marriage.
When he moved into the guest room, did he take the children? Did he have the children with him?
He did, but it was just on certain nights. They were sharing.
And then he asked if Kelly could come as well.
Correct.
The wife. And what did you say? Why couldn't he go home?
He could not go home due to their relationship with her parents. Their parents.
Oh, she was living with her parents.
Correct.
And they were both living with her parents.
Correct.
So he said, I can't go home. We want to work on the marriage. Could we come and stay here with you?
Correct.
They have 2 kids?
They have 3.
They have 3 kids. And how many dogs?
4.
4 dogs. So far, you get 4 stars if you let her come.
I wish it would have worked that way.
No. You don't understand that that's where I'm at so far.
Yeah, of course.
So now, May 29th, he gives you the $1,000. She moves in when with the dogs?
So we had a long trip planned to Vegas. We let them know that after we had left, she could come stay while we were gone.
What month? June?
June, correct.
How long were you away?
We were away for 5 to 6 days.
Well, what was he going to do when she came there with the 4 dogs, 3 kids after 6 days? What was the plan?
This was never a plan of, here's a lease agreement, you are going to rent from us. It was just I need somewhere to stay. Can they please come for this short period of time until we figure this out?
Great. Okay, now let me hear your version of the events. When you went to stay there with your children, you were having trouble with your wife.
It's incorrect.
Incorrect.
Caption coming up.
What I said was, because I believe her. I believe that you called her and said exactly what she said. She told me. I mean, I didn't have to have Whitney read it back. I believe that that's what you said. So I don't want to hear baloney about school districts. You were having trouble with your wife.
And later today.
You can't have it both ways.
It's a complicated case.
It's not complicated. It's very simple. You didn't have a written contract. If you had an oral contract, that's one thing.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Kelly, Robert, Marina, and David.
Kelly and Robert Burrows claim their former friends, Marina and David Quadra, owe for an illegal eviction. Marina and David are countersuing, saying Kelly and Robert caused them to be evicted.
So when you went to their house and you wanted to work on your marriage, you could have gone back to your in-laws.
Yes, that's correct.
You could have. Why didn't you?
The reason why we decided to split up was because we're trying to keep our kids in the same school district. So with having 4 dogs, that's impossible to keep in an HOA. So she decided to go with her parents. I decided to stay back to finish the school year with the kids, still being in May, so they can finish in the same school district. That's why I decided I needed a mailing address so that they could stay in the same school district.
So you mean this discussion that she just said to me about you having problems, marital problems with your wife, that never happened?
Irrelevant. It's just...
No, that's not what I said. What I said was, because I believe her. I believe that that's what happened. I believe that you called her and said exactly what she said. She told me. I mean, I don't have to have Whitney read it back. I believe that that's what you said. So I don't want to hear baloney about school districts. You were having trouble with your wife.
No, ma'am.
No.
No.
And you didn't tell her that.
We had been moved out of our old place of 6 years in El Cajon, and we were trying for 6 months to find a new place. So yes, it does put a lot of stress on a relationship, but we did not have any marital...
Mr. Burrows, you know what my strong suit is, and there's no question that the cameras just caught your face. My strong suit is being able to spot a lie from a mile away. And I'm telling you that there's no question that you called her late at night and said, I'm having trouble with my wife. She asked me for a divorce. Can I come and stay with you? There's no question that whether it was true or not, I don't know, because clearly you're a liar. So maybe it wasn't true, but that's what you told her.
Your Honor, may I speak?
You want me to call your parents?
Please do.
Would you like me to call your parents? I'm just asking you, would you like me to call your parents?
No.
Of course not. That's an easy thing for me to do.
Part of what was going on was that we lived in our home for 6 years and the homeowners had moved back in, and so they asked us to leave, and we had been actively searching for a home. So yes, it did put a bit of a strain on our marriage, and I took my dogs with me so that I can keep my operating business at my parents' house because I am a dog boarder, dog sitter, and I did not want to shut my business down. And during this time, tensions, little things happening at my parents' house. So I said, you need to go see if you can rent a room or find somebody that can help you in the meantime till we can actively keep searching for a place for our family. We tried 5 different homes and we didn't.
I don't care. What I said to your husband was he lied to me. Because there's no question that he called, and whether it was true or not, that he said to your friends, I need a place to go. Do you have a place that I could stay on the couch? There's no question he said that to her.
That is true. Yes, that is true.
Okay, well, then I want you to introduce your husband to the truth.
Is it true?
It's something that he hasn't met, because that's not what he told me what happened.
Correct.
So that was a mistake of his. That was a mistake. And you know what happens when you lied to me once? Your case is dismissed. Because what you're suing for is being evicted, and you go, blah, 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 emotional distress. You lie to me once, your case is dismissed. Now, we're going to come over here. You have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim is money owed for property damage.
Correct.
And for damages for eviction, because what happened was your landlord evicted you because she comes with her 4 dogs, 3 gerbils, 2 parakeets to your house, and the owner of your condo doesn't want her any more than the owner of their last condo.
Of course.
Didn't want them. Got to save your money, buy your own house, so you can have as many dogs and parakeets as you like. You moved into a place that's nicer?
Absolutely not.
Tell me what the papers said when your landlord notified you of the eviction. Do you have them?
We do.
I'd like to take a look at them.
Yes, no problem.
Marina hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
There was also in that piece of paper a $250 fine through our HOA from the whole commotion that he caused the day of asking them to leave.
Just a second, you were a month-to-month tenant?
Correct.
You didn't have a lease for 2 years. You were a month-to-month tenant.
We had a year lease, and then when the year was up, we moved month to month.
They didn't evict you?
No, they just gave us, they asked
Just a
us to
second.
leave.
Your lawsuit is for damages, punitive damages for an eviction. You weren't evicted.
Well, we were asked to leave if we...
No, they just decided not to renew your month-to-month lease.
Due to the...
I don't care what it was due to. Listen, if I owned a property and you let 3 kids, 4 dogs, moved into my condo for 6 days, I wouldn't renew your lease on a month-to-month basis either. I don't care whether they were there for 2 days, 4 days, a week, or a month. You understand?
Understood.
Okay, so there was no eviction. So the punitive damages for that, forget it. Money owed for property damage when they moved out. What did they damage? And how much did it cost you?
There was a hole in the molding from moving the dressers down our stairs. They bonked it, bringing it out angrily because they were mad that we asked them to leave. We have the letters from our landlord stating everything that they had to deduct from our deposit.
Just a second, a hole in the wall. And how much was the hole in the wall?
The molding was...
No, just look at the paper and tell me how much was the hole in the wall.
The painting was $180 and the molding repair was $200.
Now, did you damage the molding when you were moving a dresser out of the house?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, not that you're aware of. You want to try the truth now? Was there a hole that you created moving a dresser out of the house?
When David and I were moving our dresser over the stairs, down the stairs.
Who's David?
The defendant.
So you were moving out the dresser with him? Careful, introducing you to the truth. Did you move the dresser with him?
I did help move the furniture
Your case is dismissed. The counterclaim likewise is dismissed. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
David, then Kelly.
I take it as a win. The initial suit was them against us. Their suit got dismissed.
We lost a lot of things and a lot of wages.
That was just us being good friends. We definitely learned our lesson. We will never help another crying husband on our doorstep claiming divorce again.
People that are offering to be nice to you in times of need don't charge you.
They kind of cried, oh, marriage and divorce the whole time, knowing that we're young and married. It's something we take seriously in our lives.
And we're still trying to build our lives back.
Judy and Sarah.
I should actually make a party to introduce all those people to Mr. Truth.
I agree. There's a lot of mismatch. Doesn't make sense. If you're going to stay with a friend for a few days, you don't bring a bunk bed and 2 dressers. No. I've stayed with friends for a couple days, long weekend. You bring a bag with some clothes.
Even with your kids.
Yeah, you don't bring furniture. You don't bring any of that. So there's a lot of discrepancies.
Things that didn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true.
Agreed.
Case 2041, Dion versus Everson. All parties, please step forward.
Caitlin Dion claims her former employer, Scott Everson, breached their contract to buy her baby shoe business.
All right, what looks to be a complicated case actually is merely just a contract case. Ms. Dion, you had a side business of making baby shoes, and I assume that those are the baby shoes.
Yes, it was a full-time business.
The defendants had a children's clothing website, and they became familiar with your baby shoes, and they were interested in buying your business. You entered into a contract wherein I believe that they agreed to pay you $30,000 for the business. Is that correct?
That was the asking price. There was never a written contract signed.
That's incorrect.
Just a second. You entered into a deal for $30,000 and an employment contract without a written contract?
I have the written contract here, Your Honor.
Oh, yeah. I would say goodbye to you all if there wasn't a written contract.
There was a draft of a contract, the terms of which changed numerous times over the 2 years.
No. You can't change a written contract. Was it a written contract that was signed by both parties?
No, it was never
signed.
He
refused to sign it, even though he was the one that wrote it himself and emailed it to me himself.
Caption coming up.
You called him within the period that you were supposed to be working for him and said, this is too much for me, I can't do it. I read your complaint. Do you understand? That's a breach of your contract, if there ever was a contract.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Caitlin and Scott.
Caitlin Dion claims her former employer, Scott Everson, breached their contract to buy her baby shoe business.
Well, then there was never a meeting of the minds. May I see that? This is going to be a much easier case than I thought.
That's also incorrect. I have audio.
Just a second. This is going to be a much easier case than I thought.
That's the latest draft of an agreement of which there were several drafts prior to that.
Listen to me, sir. It doesn't make any difference to me. She's suing you because you paid her pursuant, I assume, under this non-contract, according to you, $31,000.
In good
that
faith.
was both for a piece of her business and for her staying on for a period of, I don't know, 4 months, 6 months?
That was never agreed to.
Neither was the $30,000. Do you understand? You can't have it both ways,
It's a
Ms. Dion.
complicated case.
It's not complicated. It's very simple. You didn't have a written contract. If you had an oral contract, that's one thing.
I do have that, actually. I have audio that we can play right now telling him that he promises to pay me $30,000 regardless of how long I worked for him.
Just a second. The original deal that you had was for $30,000.
There was actually an original deal that was much more than the contract he took months to change to sign.
Ms. Dion, there's no question that under the terms of what you both thought was reasonable, you agreed to accept $30,000 from him for the business, and you would stay with the business for a period of time, either 4 months or 6 months. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but that is totally reasonable because he wasn't in the baby shoes business. According to your complaint, you were going through some marital difficulty, you were going through other major problems, and you called him within the period that you were supposed to be working for him and said, this is too much for me, I can't do it. I read your complaint. Do you understand? That's a breach of your contract, if there ever was a contract. That was, listen to me carefully.
If you look in the contract, it says that he would take away $400 per week that I did not work for him.
This is not, listen to me, Mr. Young, listen to me very carefully. This is an unsigned contract.
Why did you send it to me then?
Just a second. He gave you $31,000.
He did not. He gave me $5,000.
Just a second. He says he gave you over the period of time $30,000. Did you give her?
I have to.
But just a second.
In the period of time that we've known Ms. Dion and worked with her, I've given her $31,668.
I have proof that says otherwise.
I'd like to see it.
Here are my hourly
No, not that.
Those are paycheck stubs, of which of the $31,000 she received,
that were
$10,000
not part of the business purchase price.
Listen.
No, you're right. That was pay stubs.
I have to explain something to you. There was no written contract and clearly no meeting of the minds based upon what you both told me today.
What was I supposed to do? I signed the contract and gave it back to him.
Then you should have done nothing. If he didn't sign it, you should have done nothing.
I was a single mother at the time.
Mr. Young, you have to understand, this is a court.
He had all of my assets.
This is a court. It's not Dr. Phil. You had no written contract, and if you had no written contract, you had to have an oral contract.
I do.
No, then you had to have an oral contract, and that oral contract clearly did not reflect a meeting of the minds of both of you. If he didn't sign this contract, and whether it was for your business or for your employment, are you saying to me that you did not receive from him? I'm just curious, because he has the documentation to show me that you did not receive from him $31,000.
I have documentation. Sorry, I thought that was a question you asked.
That was a question, that you did not receive from him. I don't care if it was the business or as a worker, that you did not receive from him during a period of time $31,000.
I did not. That's incorrect. I have my paychecks. I have the down payment that he made. I have the installments that he made.
Just a second.
All of which add up to $31,000.
Just a second. Add them up, and I asked you a question. How much was it? Your paychecks and the down payment he made on your business. How much was it? I want to know if it was he said it was $31,000.
He paid me $16,666 for my business. My paychecks do not matter. They were not a part of the business agreement.
Did you file your case in small claims?
That is not a part of my business.
Did you file your case in small claims court?
Yes.
Working
hourly was not a part of the contract.
Pay careful attention to me. If you filed your case in small claims court, I'm going to give you an opportunity to go back there. If you think you have a case, I do not. I do not believe that there was a meeting of the minds when there's a contract unsigned for over $10,000. That's absolutely ludicrous. As long as I'm comfortable with the fact that you got paid during a period of time $30,000 so that you worked and you got paid. The contract for the sale of the business, as far as I'm concerned, was never consummated. I'm going to let you go try to explain your position to a judge in either Superior Court, because I don't think small claims courts hear cases up to $10,000. I don't know where you're from. Where are you from?
It's actually $11,000.
Utah.
In Utah.
I'll go back to Utah. This case is dismissed without prejudice. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Caitlin, then Scott.
I reminded him over the period of 2 months.
Paid her $31,000 for her time in her business.
Give me the contract, give me the contract, give me the contract.
She wanted a job. That's how she first approached us. She applied for a job with us.
My working for him hourly was never part of the agreement.
I wish I had been more careful.
I'll see him back in court.
Title, Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv. Wages.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 2181, Moore versus Foreman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Moore, you're suing the defendant because it is your claim that you sold him, I believe, 4 piglets, and he never paid you for them.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's what the case is about. Now, tell me where you live.
I live in Pinehurst, but outside of Pinehurst, south, in a valley.
Pinehurst is where?
In Idaho.
So you live in Idaho. Is
Yes.
that a farming community?
Yes, small.
Who do you live there with?
Me, my mom, and my sister.
You have a farm?
Yes.
How many acres?
Right now, 5, yes. We're working on buying land next to us.
But right now you have 5 acres. Tell me
Yes.
what you raise.
Right now, we raise cows, pigs, and goats.
You own that property?
Yes, Your Honor.
How long have you owned that property and raised those farm animals?
Lived on the property my whole life, raised farm animals since I was about 16.
And you sell them for what?
I mainly do meat animals, so when it comes to beef, cattle, pigs, meat, goats.
But you sell them on their own hoofs?
Yes, yep, on the hoof, not by meat.
And what do you do, Mr. Foreman?
An underground shift supervisor,
What is that?
underground miner.
Do you live close by to Mr. Moore?
Live a couple miles above him,
How long have you lived there?
going on 5 years.
Tell me what interest you have in pigs.
Me and my buddy, we have a hobby, so to speak. He has cattle at his place, and I have raised pigs at mine.
How many acres is your house?
Just over 5.
All you raise are pigs.
Correct.
And I assume you sell the pigs for meat.
Correct.
When was the first time, Mr. Foreman, you purchased pigs from Mr. Moore?
Probably 2 years ago now.
Okay, how many did you purchase?
The first time,
First time.
I think there's 3.
How much did you pay for them?
I don't recall.
Well, how much would 3 piglets be?
I want to say it was 400 and some change.
For 3?
Correct.
Okay, that was a couple of years ago.
Correct.
Did you sell those pigs?
Correct.
They're not part of your current lifestyle?
No, no.
And you keep them for how long before you sell them?
Until they make a certain weight, about 250, 280 pounds.
Now, when you buy them from the plaintiff or from anybody, how big are they?
The ones that I purchased from Logan were small, probably 30, 40 pounds maybe.
So they must eat a lot for them to get to 250.
A lot.
And give me some idea, because I really don't know the answer to this question. How much would you sell a 250-pound pig for?
If they're totally butchered, cut, and wrapped, it's about $800 to $900. If I'm doing the cutting and wrapping,
And if you're not?
then I sell it for hanging weight. So whatever the animal weighs after it's butchered out, then we set a price for that. Usually $3.50 to $4 a pound.
You pay about $125 for them. You feed them for a year.
Not quite a year, but close.
Okay, well, not quite a year. And then you sell them for 6 or 7 times what you paid for them, minus the feed, whatever that is, minus what it is to feed.
Except for there's more than just the feed. There's all the time and labor it goes into cutting
Oh,
and wrapping.
absolutely.
And
But you make a profit.
make a profit, yes.
And you don't go that route. You sell them when they're young?
Correct.
That's your business, to
That
sell
is.
them when they're young?
Yes.
Okay. So the first time Mr. Foreman bought from you, evidently things went well. Tell me about this most recent sale where there is an issue.
Yes, so Brandon contacted me that I had 4 pigs available.
Did you advertise that you had them available?
I did not. I have a family member that works at a gas station that he goes to. She mentioned to him that I have pigs for sale.
Is that how you found out?
That is correct.
Okay, go.
That I had pigs for sale. And then he got my number from her. He contacted me, said that he is interested in my pigs. We set up a time for him to come meet and look at the pigs.
What date?
It was July 28th, 2022.
Okay.
And then he came and looked at the pigs then, and he liked them.
How old were they?
They were 2.5 months, which would be right around 40 to 45 pounds.
And you had 4 of them?
4, correct.
Is that how many there were in the litter or however?
No, those were just the ones I had left. There were 9 in that litter.
So you had already sold 5?
Yes.
And 4 left?
Yes.
Is that the time you usually buy them, Mr. Foreman, when they're 2.5 months old?
No,
How old are they when you usually buy them?
it depends.
Depends on what?
Price, money,
Okay.
where they're at.
Well, so give me a range. What?
So these ones were relatively close. I didn't have to travel far. At the time, they seemed like a pretty decent price deal.
And what did he sell them to you for?
Caption, coming up.
You want to take the pigs. You didn't have any money at the moment. And what was the deal that you came up with?
That I would pay him for them when I was able to.
Nah, that I don't believe.
That
I don't believe.
is the truth.
Then he's foolish, because when are you able to?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Logan and Brandon.
Logan Moore claims his family friend, Brandon Farman, owes for the cost of 4 pigs. Brandon says Logan sold him pigs that were sick.
Okay, what did he sell them to you for?
I believe for the 4 pigs and water, it was $7.20.
25, 4 pigs, and there was a water little machine that you also...
No, it was just a plastic tote with nipples on it for the pigs to drink water out of.
Okay.
There was no machine, no nothing to it.
So for $725, you got the 4 pigs and this machine.
It's
whatever.
not a barrel.
Whatever, a waterer, a hog waterer.
Correct.
Right. Anybody have a picture of that to show me?
I do not know.
I'll have to use
Judge,
my imagination based upon Mr. Farman's... Oh, you have a picture of it, sir?
Your Honor.
What?
It was $740, $160 each for the pigs and then $100 for the water.
Judge, I do not. I do not have a picture of the water.
Okay.
The water was like a 275-gallon tank with 4 nipples on the outside of it at the bottom that you can fill with water. Pigs drink out of the nipples easier than they do like a dish.
Whatever. I get the picture. Okay. Now, let's say I take your number, Mr. Farman, $725. You purchased the pigs on July 28th, 2022. Is that right?
Correct.
Did you pay him for them?
At the time that I went and looked at the pigs, I told him up front, and plain as day, I do not have the money to pay you right now, right off the bat. I don't have the money. But I was under the understanding from his relative that works at the gas station that he doesn't have the time.
No. You can't tell me what the relative at the gas station told you. You went to see the pigs.
I went to see the pigs.
You went to see the pigs, Mr. Farman, and you told me a moment ago, I said, how much were the pigs? And she's going to read back exactly what you said.
You asked him, did you pay for them? And he said, at the time I went and looked at the pigs, I told him up front, plain as day, I do not have the money to pay you right now.
Before that, there was something about $725.
Okay.
How much were they? And he said the whole thing, the 4 pigs and a watering was $725.
$720 for the pigs and the water machine.
$720.
$720.
Oh, that's what you said. You said they were $720. That was the discussion when you went and looked at the pigs. Okay, and you said, I don't have money right now.
Correct.
And?
So then we came up with a deal that...
Look at me, don't look down. So you came up with a deal. You wanted to take the pigs and the watering thing. You wanted to take the pigs. You didn't have any money at the moment. And what was the deal that you came up with?
That I would pay him for him when I was able to.
Nah. That I don't believe. That I don't believe.
That is the truth.
Then he's foolish because when are you able to?
When I was able to.
What does that mean? That means you determine whether or not when and if you're going to pay for these things that you took?
It depended on when I was able to have the money available.
That was in July.
Correct.
You work in a mine.
Correct.
You work for a company?
Correct.
How long do you work for them?
3 years.
You get paid annually or by the hour?
Annually.
And what's your pay annually?
$90,000, give or take.
Give or take a what?
I get bonuses.
Okay. You're going to get, in the month of January, a $10.99. How much did you earn last year with bonuses?
I don't know. I haven't received my bonus yet.
Oh, you haven't received it yet? Okay, so it's $90,000 base pay. Who else do you support?
My wife and 5 children.
What does your wife do?
Stay-at-home mom.
When was the last time you sold any pigs?
It's been a while.
How long? Month and year?
It's been probably 6 months, 6, 7 months.
Okay. How many did you sell?
At the time, the last...
6 or 7 in the last 6 months. How many did you sell?
1 or 2.
Well, I want you to think carefully. If you're on a salary and you have a wife and 5 children, that it's important if you make between $800 and $900 for each pig that you have. I want to know if it's 1 or 2.
It was 2.
And let's say I'm not going to take the higher figure, I'll take the lower figure. That's $1,600. You said between $800 and $900 each. That's $1,600 plus your income from your job.
Unfortunately, that $800 to $900 that I get for a pig, that doesn't all go to me. I split that equally with the person that I cut with, the one that raises the cattle that I spoke about.
I don't understand, sir.
I have the shop. I have the space, the shop, the meat cooler, the room at my house to hang and cut animals. He comes up and he helps. We split it equally, right down the middle. So the
that
$800 or
$900,
$900, I don't get that.
Just a second. He raises cattle.
Correct.
and you split his cattle with him, and you have pigs, and he splits the pigs with you?
No. I let him use the shop and my meat cooler. The cattle's his deal, but he comes up and helps me cut and wrap the pigs.
Oh, then he doesn't get half. That's baloney. That's baloney. If you raise them, you feed them, you paid for them. If he wraps them, you're not giving him half. In any event,
it's not.
In any event, you have a job. You have a $90,000 plus job. You made a commitment of $720 to the plaintiff to pay for his pigs, and you paid nothing.
The pigs died.
Just a second. I read that here. Tell me when the pigs died. Tell me the month and day the pigs died, that you communicated with him. This pig died, that pig died, this pig died.
I didn't communicate with him about when the pig died or when
Did you communicate with him at all? I'm sorry, when he asked you for the money.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
I was.
Okay, when he said, where's my money? That was in what month? I know when July 28th is when you picked them up. In what month did he communicate and say to you, I want my pigs, or I want the money? Tell me.
August.
August what?
One was August 16th, one was August 17th.
Okay, so he communicated with you the 16th and the 17th of August. So by this time, you've had the pigs at your place for about 2.5 weeks, from the 28th to the 16th or the 17th of July.
And the first one had already died in that.
Just a second. During that time, now, when did the first pig die?
A week and 3 days after I got it home.
Did you tell him?
No.
Oh, then you're going to pay for all of them, sir.
What?
You're going to pay for all of them.
No.
Oh, yes.
Caption coming up.
Just show me that you said to him, one got sick, it died. I'm afraid for the others, so I just as soon give them back to you and cancel this whole deal. Show me.
I offered multiple times to take the pigs back to him and the water.
Just show me.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Logan and Brandon.
Logan Moore has accused his family friend, Brandon Foreman, of refusing to pay for the pigs he purchased. Brandon claims Logan sold him sick pigs and only one survived.
Go ahead.
So if you went to the grocery store and you bought a bag of apples and the apples are rotten in the middle, but the outside looked fine, you would still pay for those and just be content with them?
I'm going to give you the different example, sir, not apples. I'm going to give you an example with puppies, which I have here all the time. Your pigs were not sold to you with any health guarantee. Let's start there. Dogs, cats, animals, pet animals are usually sold through a breeder or somebody that you buy from. You have a contract that says, take the dog or the cat to the vet within the next 3 days or the next 24 hours or 48 hours. Any health deficiency in the cat or dog, we will either refund your money or give you a new cat or a new dog at the discretion of either the buyer or the seller. That's what happens. Now, you had the animals at your place for 2 weeks, and I assume you have other animals. Just assume you have other animals.
I had other pigs at the time.
Just assume you have other animals, and I also assume that you have no vet report.
I do.
I'd like to see it.
Brandon hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
This isn't a vet report.
It's the bill.
I don't care about a bill. I want a report.
I don't have a report. I have a bill.
Then, sir, you're going to pay him his $720. You're going to pay him his $720. I don't care what the bill was. How does he know? How do I know what the pig picked up, the one that died, at your place over the course of a week and a half? What you said to me was you took the pigs and said, I'll pay him when I can. Now they're yours.
So I had other pigs at the time, full-grown pigs, that were ready to go. So then I brought these other piglets home, and then the one started getting sick, so then I had to separate the pigs. So then I had to spend all this time and money giving them shots, trying to keep them healthy, and then I had to build a whole separate pen to contain them because I don't want to get the full-grown pigs getting whatever disease or whatever they had.
Did you ever call the plaintiff when the first pig got sick and said, listen, this pig is sick, and I'm not sure about the other piglets that are here, and that's in the first 2 weeks. I'd like to return them to you. He didn't have any babies at the time because he had sold 5. He had 9 in the whole litter or whatever they call it. Just show me that you said to him, one got sick, it died. I'm afraid for the others, so I just as soon give them back to you and cancel this whole deal. Show me where you did that the first 2 weeks in August.
When I first picked up those pigs,
just show me.
I don't have that.
Sir, then what you're saying is unreasonable.
It's not unreasonable. Why do I need to burden him with these sick pigs? But I'm not going to pay for a product that I can't get anything out of.
Then you've become the lawyer for the plaintiff, the lawyer for the defendant, and the judge. You said, I bought them. I didn't pay for them. But I shouldn't have to pay for them because now I had to build a whole separate pen. I had to separate them. And this is all without advising him. All without advising him and saying to him, listen, I didn't want to buy sick pigs. It looks as if these are sick pigs. I don't want the extra responsibility. I don't have the money right now. Take them back. Show me. Show me.
I offered multiple times to take the pigs back to him and the water.
Show me. Show me within the first couple of weeks when one died, so you had to separate all of them. That's the first 2 weeks in August. That's all I want to see.
Right here.
I'd like to see
August
it, please.
17th.
Okay, great.
We won the blue.
Shh. I'm reading.
Brandon hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
This doesn't say anything about sick pigs, sir. August 16th, 17th were the 2 dates you gave me. This was on August 17th. He says, do you have the money to me tomorrow, or I'm getting law enforcement involved? You don't say one of the pigs is sick. One of the pigs died. I'll bring them all back. You say, I'm working on getting you the money. But if this is how it is, then I will bring you back the pigs and all tonight. I have some blank coming up that has taken precedence in my finances. I'm sorry that this has been less than ideal, but this is where I am now. That doesn't say anything about pigs being sick, dying. It says, I have other things to do with my money now. That's what it says, right?
But I clearly offered to bring the pigs back.
Just a second. That's what it says. He didn't have a buyback agreement from you. Now you have the pigs. Whether they died or whether they didn't die or whether they got sick, you've had them. Now we're in January, August, September, October, November, December. We're in January. We're 6 months later. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $720. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Logan, then Brandon.
Did not expect Brandon to mention sick pigs.
They just wouldn't put on weight. They started not wanting to eat or drink anymore. Then they just got real skinny, no matter what I did or the vets did.
He never told me.
They just ended up passing away.
If it was sick, I would put them in a treated pen that I have that's actually on concrete where they cannot pick up any other diseases from the ground.
Some kind of infection.
And I make sure the animal is even safe for transport.
Wasn't going to do the blood test on him to try to figure out.
I honestly have done multiple payment plans with multiple farmers.
I shouldn't have to pay.
And I will do it in the future too.
Got frustrated.
I'm glad it's over. I don't have to chase my money anymore.
Sarah and Judy.
So I don't know a lot about pigs or farming or,
no.
or housing pigs, but I was really surprised at the profit margin that the defendant was explaining. If you buy the pigs at 40 pounds, not also great at math or word problem math questions, but if you buy a pig at 40 pounds for $160, you have to feed it all the way up to 280 pounds in order to sell it to anyone. You have to, I don't even want to think about how much food that requires to feed the pigs. But then your profit, even if he wasn't splitting it with whoever helps him cut and butcher the meat, is only $800 as a high figure. That seems like a very low profit margin to have pigs in your house and to have them in your backyard and build a pen with 5 kids. That just seems like a lot for a profit margin that I expected to be much higher. That's really labor-intensive work. It just blew my mind.
Yeah, different part of the world.
Different part of the world.
So if you don't like that part of the world, then you go to law school.
I guess.
Or you become a podiatrist.
Or you visit.
Or you
visit
visit.
a farm.
You visit a farm.
Title, Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv. Panzer for damages and lost wages from a car accident.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches Judge Judy.
Hello, Judge. Case 2165, Atkins versus DePanger.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Judy points at a young woman and gestures for her to approach the defendant's table.
Tell me your first name.
Destiny.
How old are you, Destiny?
I'm 14.
And you don't have a driver's license?
No, ma'am.
So you know you're not allowed to drive a car?
Yes, I do.
You took your mother's car without permission?
I did.
You were with a girlfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
Who also is your age?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
And you stole your mother's car on what date?
October 7th or 8th.
Where was your mother?
Sleeping.
What time did you steal your mother's car?
Around 4, 3, around that time.
What?
Like, I say about 3:30. I'm sorry.
The morning, afternoon, or evening?
In the morning, a.m.
3:30 in the morning.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had an accident.
Yes, ma'am.
You had an accident with this lady's car.
Yes, ma'am.
And instead of stopping, you took off, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And it was a bad accident.
Yes, ma'am.
And was the damage to the side of your car? Was the damage to the side of your car?
No, ma'am.
Passenger side?
No, ma'am.
Don't play. Passenger side? No. Driver side? No. Where was the damage to your car?
The front.
Front. Okay. So now that I've got the clear picture, you stole your mother's car, you have no driver's license, whatever insurance your mother had on the car would certainly not cover this accident because you're an unauthorized driver, you have no driver's license. Your mother certainly wasn't going to report you to the police for stealing her car. I don't think you did that, right? And the damage to your car was in the front. Front. You're going to tell me, but just so that I know. The damage to your car was on the side.
Yes, ma'am.
Of course. You see, cars don't slide together. Do you know what I mean? One car hits another.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? Is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Better. Okay, so now we're going to go to October 8th.
Yes, Your Honor.
You were on your way to work?
Yes, ma'am.
And Miss Atkins, tell me what happened.
I was going to work. It was 5:30 in the morning. I was going up Franklin Road. I got to Brookville Road.
You were driving straight?
Yes, I'm going up Franklin Road.
Mm-hmm.
I get to a light at Brookville Road. I make a stop because the light is red. I'm sitting at the red light. The light changes green. I proceed to go through the light at the green light. The defendant is coming the opposite way from me. She's not in the turning lane, she's in the regular straight lane. So I see her coming at a rapid speed, but I'm thinking she's going straight, so I proceed to go through the light. By the time I get mid-light, I don't know what happened, but she decides to turn. And when she turns right into me, and hits me.
Okay, and then what happened?
And then I hear her and her friends are hollering. Her friend is hollering, "Run, Destiny, we have to go. Run, Destiny, we have to go." I'm still trying to get myself together, and I'm looking, and all I could do was grab my phone and dial 911 to call the police.
And by that time, they were gone?
And by that time, they were gone.
Miss Atkins, how did you find her?
We talked to the insurance company.
No, wait a second.
Okay.
How did you find her? They took off.
Oh, they took off.
They took off.
Her car was still at the accident.
Oh, so they ran and left the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
So my husband came. I had called my husband as well. He came to the accident scene. He took pictures of the cars and the plates, and we contacted our insurance. Our insurance gave us the name, and I went on Facebook, and I looked her up, and I seen Destiny, who I had seen run from the accident. And we found out she was hiring for a job. So inboxed her, found out where she worked, and we went to her job.
You mean her mother?
Her mother.
Her mother.
My daughter inboxed you and asked you what...
Don't speak to her.
I'm sorry.
Don't speak to her.
Okay.
What? Listen to me. Whatever you say is no good. Just understand that. Your daughter stole your car. She's 14 years old. She could have killed people. She could have killed people. There's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for her stealing your car. Has she ever done it before?
No.
But she did.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And she did, and she had an accident because she didn't have a driver's license. She lacked state permission to be behind the wheel of a car.
Caption, coming up.
Let's go. Did you know your daughter had been in an accident? Of course you did, because she left the car there, right?
Yes.
So you knew she had been in an accident?
Yes.
Did you contact the police?
No.
Why not?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Tanya, Kelly, and Destiny.
Tanya Atkins claims vehicle owner Kelly DePanger owes for damages after Kelly's 14-year-old daughter crashed into her car.
So she didn't have a driver's license. She lacked state permission to be behind the wheel of a car.
But she still harassed me, though.
What?
At my job. She harassed me at my job.
Just a second. Did she contact you first?
As far as...
Just as anything, it's contact.
No.
Email. So
I don't know who her daughter was.
You're going to... What?
I didn't know who her daughter was trying to contact me on Facebook.
I don't...
Judy raises her hand.
Did you know your daughter had been in an accident? Let's go. Did you know your daughter had been in an accident? Of course you did, because she left the car there, right?
Yes.
So you knew she had been in an accident?
Yes.
Right? Did you contact the police?
No.
Why not?
She came to the house freaking out and, in panic of her getting in an accident. And my daughter is telling me...
Just a second, so what did you do? What did you do? Your daughter stole your car. I see the picture of the accident. The picture of the accident clearly shows that your daughter hit her car. Your daughter's car is the gray one.
This is the very first time I've seen this.
Well, I'm telling you, when you have front-end damage, that means you hit somebody. She's wrong from the get-go. So I'm asking you, she came home, you told somebody, did you call the police and say, listen, my 14-year-old daughter took my car without permission, there was a bad accident, I hope nobody was hurt. Did you do that?
No, I did not.
No, of course not. You waited for somebody to find you.
No, not necessarily.
Well, what do you mean not necessarily? Unless you contacted somebody, did you go back to
I was under the impression that they called the police.
Just a second, what would give you that impression? Your daughter ran away.
She said that cops were called.
How did she know the cops were called? She ran away. What?
The cops were there. A cop had spoke to me that night. I was...
After the accident?
No, before. I mean, yeah, after the accident. But
well, the accident happened 3:30 in the morning. The officer spoke to you at night. That's after the accident.
Yes, ma'am. But there's a fire department right by where we got into an accident at. And there was a police car parked while I was fleeing the scene. And he had asked me what I was doing, and I told him that I was fine and that there had just been a car accident. And he went.
And the policeman told you to leave?
No.
You stopped and spoke to a policeman that there had been this kind of car accident, that you were driving with that, and the policeman told you to leave? Okay.
Judy waves her hand.
Did you notify your insurance company?
Unfortunately.
That's either a yes or a no.
No, because I don't have insurance. It lapsed.
Double whammy. So your daughter follows in her mother's foot. This is the example that you're setting. She's driving your car without a license, and you have a car that has no insurance. That's a great lesson. And so what happens is a perfect storm. Your car without insurance, driven by your unlicensed minor child, causes a stupendous accident where someone could have been killed. You don't call the police. Did you go and look at the scene of the accident? It's either a yes or a no.
Not the scene, no.
The scene. I'm talking about the scene of the accident. Your daughter came home. Did she tell you right away what happened? Shh. What time did your daughter get home?
About 7 or 8 in the morning.
Well, where did she go after the accident? Did you ask her?
She was waiting for a ride. She had woke me up in my sleep and told me about the accident.
So the accident that happened 3:30 in the morning, according to her, or 5:30. So she was driving around for a couple of hours before the accident happened 5:30. An hour and a half later, she woke you up?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
And did she tell you where the accident happened?
Yes.
And what did you do? 7:30 in the morning, she had a terrible accident. She told you where it happened. Did she tell you that she ran away from the accident?
Yes.
What did you do?
Well, she does have severe asthma.
Just to say, I don't care whether she has severe asthma or not. It's irrelevant to me. I'm asking you what you did.
Right.
What you did. Your daughter calls you, not from the house.
She comes in the house.
Oh, I thought you said she called you. Not important. She came into the house at 7:30. She told you that you stole the car, went for a joyride with her friend, whatever language she used, and she had a very bad accident. The car was demolished, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do? 7:30 in the morning. I want to know what you did. 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. What did you do?
She wakes me up. I'm freaking out. She's freaking out.
I don't care freaking out. It's
did you
not
do?
relevant. Don't speak to your mother. I'm asking your mother a question. What did you do?
As soon as she told me that, I was freaking out about it, and I went into mommy mode because she was outside in hours, waiting for a ride. So, and she was having asthma problems. She was in a panic. So I immediately, I was trying to figure out what's going on, but I also wanted to make sure that my daughter was okay.
Oh, that takes a half hour.
So
That
I went
takes a half
to
hour.
her
What did you
room,
do at 8 o'clock?
And I gave her a breathing treatment.
But after you gave her the breathing treatment, that's 8 o'clock. Now it's 8:15.
As we're giving her a treatment, we are looking through the phone, internet and looking to see what tow companies, what place would have our car. And we finally figure out where our car was, and I got a ride to go look at my car.
What time?
I would say maybe about 9, 10 o'clock.
Okay. When was the call to the police? Now you took care of your daughter, you gave her a breathing treatment. You looked through the internet. When did you call the police? Your daughter was involved in a hit and run.
I was under assumption that the police were called.
Who told you that?
That the police was at the scene.
Just a second. Who told you that? She ran away.
Well, I do know that the car got sent to a police, impound, towing company.
You didn't know that until you looked it up.
Right.
I'm asking you when you called the police.
So
the answer is you did not.
No, I did not.
Okay. Now, so I don't have to go look any further. No insurance, no driver's license, fled the scene, her fault.
Caption coming up.
How dare you have a car on the road without insurance, and how dare you place other people at risk by getting behind the wheel of a car when you're 14 years old and have no business doing that.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Tanya, Kelly, and Destiny.
Tanya Atkins is accusing vehicle owner Kelly DePangier of refusing to pay for damages after Kelly's 14-year-old daughter crashed into Tanya's car.
So now you have insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
And there was a note on the car.
Yes, ma'am.
The car is totaled. It looks like it's a total car to me.
Yes, ma'am.
How much was left on the note for the car?
$35,000.
Was left on the note?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll take a look at those papers in a second. And what was the check from insurance?
They paid $30,000.
Can I see, please?
Tanya flips through documents.
I don't have my glasses, and they're in my purse. I'm sorry.
Maybe your husband can help you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
A man approaches Tanya, produces a document, then hands it to Kevin. He brings it to Judy, who reviews it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So am I correct that they paid you $35,749? Is that what they paid you?
That's what they paid the dealership. Yes, ma'am.
$35,749. And the amount financed was $39,800?
That is correct.
And you hadn't made any payments?
Yes, ma'am. We've made payments.
This is $39,826, but you made payments, so that would reduce the amount of the loan.
This is the original copy of when we purchased the vehicle. And then I have a list of the payments that we made right here.
What I want to know is you're suing for the difference between what was paid
Yes, ma'am.
to the loan company and what you still owed that you had to make good on, correct?
Correct.
How much money did you have to make good on to the loan company? It's not $5,000.
No.
How much money did you have to pay the loan company to clear the debt?
What we had was called a gap insurance.
So you had gap.
Yes, ma'am.
So all you had was a deductible. So all you had to pay was if you had gap.
Which was a $500 deductible.
Just a second.
Sorry.
That's all. That's what I want to know. You had gap insurance, so the gap covered whatever the
gap
difference.
didn't cover the complete loss of the vehicle because they said we didn't have uninsured motorists, so we had to come out of pocket.
So now I want you to show me
Yes, ma'am.
what your out-of-pocket was.
Tanya's husband hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not understanding this. You want to tell me what the out-of-pocket is? Gap paid. How much?
The rest besides 17.
$17.56.
Yes, ma'am. That's what we owe out of pocket.
Okay, not $5,000.
No, ma'am.
$17.56.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, that certainly has to make you whole. I knew it wasn't $5,000 because it says you had gap insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. $17.56. Now, you were taken from that accident scene to the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
Which hospital?
To Community East.
Were you taken by ambulance?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you stay in the hospital?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you have any uncovered medical bills?
No, ma'am.
Were they all covered?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So your out-of-pocket expense is $1,756.
Yes, ma'am.
And the discomfort that brought you to the hospital?
Yes, ma'am. And I have a lost wage paper from my employer as well.
I'd like to see it.
Also, if I may say, ma'am, we had to rent a car, obviously, because her car was totaled, and the bill is in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Judy reviews a document.
Mm-hmm. Well, your out-of-pocket expenses, including your lost wages because you didn't work a full shift, you are an hourly employee. Those expenses, your car expenses, the $1,756 all amount to about $3,000. You're suing the defendant for $8,000, right?
Ma'am.
I'm awarding you the $8,000. How dare you have a car on the road without insurance, and how dare you place other people at risk by getting behind the wheel of a car when you're 14 years old and have no business doing that? Do you own or rent your own home?
We rent.
You rent. Do you work?
At the moment, no.
Were you working then?
Yes.
Okay. What happened to your job? That's what you're going to tell me. You're going to tell me she came and she harassed you at your job. Tell me how.
They both did. Well,
no, not both. Her.
The
plaintiff.
Well, her husband is the one that did the talking.
And he said?
And he told me, I have never seen the accident until now, so I have no idea. I believe my daughter.
Well, you shouldn't. Why would you believe a thief?
No.
And a liar?
Believe what happened.
But why would you believe a thief and a liar? She may be a thief and a liar, but she's not stupid. If the plaintiff hit her, she would have stayed at the scene because she got hit. Doesn't that make sense to you? That if she was the one who was in the right and got hit by the plaintiff, she would have remained. She said she saw a police car there, and she spoke to a policeman. So if she was in the right in the accident, what'd she leave for? Okay, you don't know. Judgment for the plaintiff, $8,000. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
It was very frightening. I've never been in an accident before, and so that time of morning, I'm on my way to work, so I'm not expecting that, of course.
I mean, my daughter took my car.
I'm glad that justice was served.
When I tried to come out to make the turn, I seen her and we crashed.
I really don't think she gets the concept of what she done.
I don't have a car.
And her mother doesn't either, obviously.
Single mom without a car.
I think she was trying to get out of paying the money.
I mean, I immediately went into, mommy mode because of her asthma issues.
And I think she also was only concerned about her daughter, which is another big issue to me, too.
But I was frantic. I didn't know what to do.
You didn't never once mention, well, I wanted to check and see if the plaintiff was okay.
I mean, my daughter could have been way worse. I'm just happy she's still here with me.
Make sure you watch your kids. I've been a single parent as well. I raised 3 kids and I've not had to deal with this situation. Don't lay your keys around.
Sarah and Judy.
I will never understand parents like the defendant who cover for their children who have done outrageous things. If I came home and told my father and my mother that I stole their car, was 14, driving a car, and fled the scene of any type of accident, I would need a breathing treatment after they were done with me. That is how it should be, because that is how you raise responsible, accountable children, to raise them into adults.
I couldn't agree with you more.
हेलो मैं हमें और आप देख रहे हैं रिएक्टर्स ऑन चैनल। अगर आप लोग भी यूट्यूब पे ग्रो होना चाहते हैं, यूट्यूब से कमाना चाहते हैं, तो इस वीडियो को पूरा देखें। मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि यूट्यूब पे ग्रो किस तरह करना है। सबसे पहले आपने, अगर आपकी कोई जीमेल बनी हुई है, आपको रहने देना है। इनकॉग्निटो मोड के ऊपर अपनी गूगल से जाना है, 3 डॉट्स पर क्लिक करके वहाँ पे इनकॉग्निटो मोड ऑन कर लेना है। फिर आपने वहाँ से यूट्यूब को ओपन करना है। और वहाँ पे जब आप स्विच अकाउंट पे या गूगल अकाउंट पे क्लिक करेंगे तो आपको जीमेल का ऑप्शन आएगा जीमेल डालने का। लेकिन आपने नया जीमेल बनाना है क्रिएट न्यू अकाउंट करके, फॉर माई सेल्फ, फॉर माई पर्सनल यूज़, जो भी वहाँ लिखा हुआ है, बिजनेस के लिए नहीं। जीमेल बनाना है आपने, और आपने जो कैटेगरी रखनी है अपनी नीश एआई रखनी है। जाहिर सी बात है, एआई का ज़माना है, फेसलेस हम लोग चैनल बनाएंगे यूट्यूब ऑटोमेशन के लिए। नीश आपके एआई रिलेटेड होगी, कोई भी नीश हो सकती है उसके अंदर, लेकिन जो आरपीएम है, हाई आरपीएम वाली, वो फाइनेंस वाली होती है, ट्रेवल्स वगैरह की, इस तरह की जो नीचे है वो हाई आरपीएम वाली नीचे। गूगल अकाउंट बनाया आपने, चैट जीपीटी पे गए, वहाँ से प्रॉम्प्ट जनरेट किया अपने लोगों के लिए, वो ले गए लियोनार्डो एआई पे, वहाँ पे जाके आपने लोगो जनरेट कर लिया। और अब स्टोरी टेलिंग वीडियोस बना रहे हैं, जैसे मेरा एक चैनल है स्टोरी टेलिंग का, तो मैं वहाँ पे लियोनार्डो एआई से स्टोरी टेलिंग की पिक्चर जनरेट करवाता हूँ, चैट जीपीटी से स्क्रिप्ट लिखवाता हूँ, और स्क्रिप्ट लिखवाने के बाद का वॉइस ओवर कराता हूँ 11 लैब से। तो ये है बहुत लंबा प्रोसीजर, इसका अगर आप बोलेंगे तो उसके लिए मैं अलग से एक वीडियो बना दूंगा किस तरह से वीडियो बनानी है। सबसे पहले आपने जीमेल क्रिएट करके अपना एक चैनल क्रिएट करके इसको एडिटिंग के लिए छोड़ देना है। उसके बाद नेक्स्ट वीडियो में मैं आपको बताऊंगा किस तरह से उस चैनल पे हम लोग काम स्टार्ट करेंगे।